Chapter 141, China's Hidden Monk, All-Star Day 3. The NXG Esports Club's first youth training camp was in full swing, and the boss, the sales champion, and the LPL Dream Team he led had reached the final stage of this international all-star event. Unfortunately, the day began badly. In the individual skill competition, Ming Kai's big head pick, chosen by the semi-final mechanism, was outplayed early by Insect's Rengar. At level 1, Rengar circled through the river behind Ming Kai, avoiding Tristana's turret shots and explosive charge, and landed auto attacks that immediately took away half of Ming Kai's health. From there, the rhythm belonged to Rengar. Ming Kai tried to use the turret to help with trades and even attempted to fight at level 6, but with a health advantage, Insect played it safe, clearing minion waves and using long-range harassment to force Big Head back to base. The semi-final rule allowing Fountain Recall recovery didn't help enough. Ming Kai's repeated backs left him too far behind in CS, and Rengar hit the 100 CS objective first. LPL individual skill competition, eliminated at 1. The jungler's solo crown would be decided between Insect and Saint Vicious, who'd beaten the GPL jungler. PDD also took a hit. In team play, he'd been fine, restrained by Jiang Ming when necessary, but in the individual skill rounds, he got risky. The top lane solo final showed PDD's confidence in an attack speed rune. Kennen could be his downfall. He was schooled by a GPL top laner's armor-stacking Nunu. Aya PDD, you can't play like that. Jeem beat Nunu because JM is strong, not because Nunu is weak in solo. Why didn't you ban Nunu? After long trades, Kennen can't sustain as much as a Nunu bite. Solo isn't just mechanics, brains matter too. I've really embarrassed myself, PDD muttered, rubbing his shiny forehead after a 2-1 defeat. Back in the lounge, he and Ming Kai bonded as unlucky brothers. Losing was tolerable. Losing in the finals, because of a strategy you forgot to ban, stung much more than an earlier semi-final exit. PDD joked about coming home to find Nunu with his ultimate activated in his bed, and the whole room exploded with laughter. The 2013 individual skill event was mostly exhibition. Nobody took the results too seriously. As long as the audience got their money's worth, it was fine. With the top lane winner decided, Wei Xiao and Pangran's duo match wrapped up, and it was time for the mid lane singles. Jiang Ming arrived in the corridor to prepare for his match against Toys, the GPL mid laner. JM player? A voice called from the shadows. Ma Fanshu had slipped up behind him. Hello, host, Jiang Ming replied politely, making room as the beautiful post-90s host came forward. He assumed she was here to interview the winning duo. Ma Fanshu smiled and shook her head, covering her mouth. JM, you misunderstand. I'm not here for the duo interview. I came to find you. Find me? Jiang Ming froze. The corridor's emergency light cast a faint yellow glow. She was so close that her hair almost brushed his chest. Their breathing echoed in the narrow space. Ma Fanshu looked up at him. At 168 centimeters, she barely reached his collarbone, but she had a model-like figure and striking legs that drew the eye. Strangely, as Jiang Ming took her in, a quick clinical list flickered through his mind. Oval face, high skull, big eyes, high nose bridge, straight legs. Someone in the LPL ops team had clearly decided to push Ma Fanshu, originally a stage host, onto the commentary desk to co-host the team competition final. It made sense. Female commentators were often used as decorative stage presence. He didn't expect her to take it so seriously. For the in-game commentary, I'd love to hear your take, JM, she said. Call me Jiang Ming in private. Jiang Ming, he answered. Ma Fanshu, she corrected with a laugh when he tried to be formal. When I looked at your profile just now, I saw you were born in '93. I'm 1 year older than you. Then should I call you Sister Ma or Sister Fanshu? He joked. Fanshu, please, she said with a little cough, and promptly reached out her hand. She'd come with a purpose. When heroes enter the ability preview, I'd like to name each skill as they're shown. Skill names? Jiang Ming raised an eyebrow. That's tough, requires a lot of memory and game sense. Ma Fanshu's eyes sparkled. You underestimate me. I used to play Summoner's Rift a lot, and I'm a professional host. Memorizing abilities is basic. 1,000 pardons, he grinned, pretending to bow. The joke eased the tension. Good luck in the finals. You must win. She stepped away as the duo match on stage wrapped up. Jiang Ming watched her go, mood steadied. He'd noticed the signals, intended or not, but he wasn't about to leap into anything. A few more looks? Innocent curiosity. Welcome to the Shanghai Grand Stage. This is the live broadcast of the 2013 League of Legends All-Star event. Huawa's booming voice boosted the arena atmosphere. In the duo skill final, Wei Xiao and Pang Ran from LPL won. So far, we've decided winners for top lane, jungle, and duo lane. The mid lane result is still up. It's a coincidence, Miller added, that the two mid lane finalists are JM from LPL and Toys from GPL. One's a Season 2 champion, the other's an unstoppable force who rose this year. New versus old, rookies versus champions. The camera cut to the player area. The LPL crowd cheered when Jiang Ming's face filled the big screen. His fans hadn't given up hope after Ming Kai and PDD's losses. With several LPL players still in the running, they had plenty to root for. Toys' expression on the other side of the screen was tense. He just received his S2 championship ring the previous day, but the team competition had shown a brutal reality. The LPL Dream Team had handed GPL a 2-0 loss. Toys had scraped into the mid-lane solo final, but he was wary. Facing Jiang Ming, who'd crushed everyone 2-0, he didn't have much confidence. He muttered to himself, hoping for even a 2-1 for him. That would be success. He carefully banned Riven, Draven, Kennen, and the usual suspects, then hovered over Quinn. Quinn and Jace are still available. Let's see if JM or Toys pick them, Su Xiaoyan said from the desk, doing her homework. Ranged champions have an advantage in solo, Miller said. Players will usually choose range unless they've got a plan. Will JM try something flashy? Insec and Diamond Proc showed off Lee Sin. Maybe JM, the inventor of Safeguard Insec, will put on a show. Miller was about to say Jiang Ming wasn't the flashy type. He'd usually avoid risky plays when the champion portrait appeared on the screen. My hands will fulfill your dreams. Lee Sin, blind monk, locked in. Oh, quick pick. The sweeping monk of China is here, the crowd roared. But Toys picked Quinn. Su Xiaoyan calmly explained Quinn's advantages in solo against Lee Sin. Range and safety if he stays careful. Jiang Ming had anticipated a ranged opponent and had planned accordingly. He'd taken Exhaust and Flash as his summoner spells, opting out of Ignite in favor of a more defensive setup. When the loading screen ended and the two champions spawned, the arena erupted with chants of JM. As the minions streamed forward, Jiang Ming steered his Lee Sin into lane. He'd chosen the God Fist skin rather than the nostalgic lobster. He wouldn't play tricks on his fans. Quinn poked with auto attacks. Jiang Ming deliberately stepped into her attack range and used Lee Sin's E-Tempest right after she hit him. The timing drew minion aggro onto Quinn and slowed her with Cripple. Toys tried to reposition, but Lee Sin's E applied the slow. The commentators noted how precise the range control was. JM had deliberately stepped forward to synchronize Tempest with the poke, forcing Quinn to pull back. At level 2, instead of immediately going for a risky Q into range, Jiang Ming leveled W and got the lifesteal shield. Lee Sin in solo wasn't weak. Q's execute, E's AoE, W's shield and sustain, and a passive that gave attack speed. It just required more mechanics than a simple Nunu. The early lane turned into a stalemate. Quinn's occasional QE pokes were either dodged or absorbed, and both champions managed their potions and recalls. The crowd expected JM to wait for level 6. Flash plus R-play could change everything. Toys, sensing that Quinn would be vulnerable after Lee Sin hit 6, began to get desperate. He started making risky moves, trying to bait an all-in. Both champions hit 6 after some more careful play and an even exchange of recalls. The chat exploded with speculation. Could JM perform an insect kick? Could he combine Dragon's Rage and Flash to change the direction of the kick? Toys stayed just behind his minions, pushing the wave toward the tower and vibing for a 100 CS victory or the first tower. He believed he could win by playing safely. Jiang Ming watched Toys' positioning and timed his moment. Who said you had to start with Q to engage? Calculating distances and turret damage, he clicked. Stay alert, someone warned. You won't win today. In a blink, Lee Sin vanished from under the tower and suddenly reappeared directly in front of Quinn. Safeguard to a minion, and then the arena saw it. JM activated his ultimate, Dragon's Rage, and used Flash mid-animation to reorient the kick. Quinn was sent flying back into her own turret. The tower auto-attacked her. The turret damage helped increase the health threshold Lee Sin's Q execute needed to finish her. Exhaust followed, then the second Q connected, and the final auto attack took the last sliver of health. First blood. The arena exploded. A beat of confusion rippled through the live chat. Hadn't he ulted first? How did Quinn fly backward? Su Xiaoyan was the first to call it. He used R, and then Flash. He cast Dragon's Rage, and then used Flash to change the knockback direction. It's the same trick as combining Safeguard Insect with Flash, Wawa laughed. You thought he only had a Safeguard Insect? He's pulled out an R Flash. That's our sweeping monk. After today, there'll be no questions about who's the best jungler, one host joked. The chat filled with envy and admiration. Players discussed which Lee Sin was better, OGN's jungler, Ming Kai, or JM. Some thought the R-Flash technique was something they could learn even without perfect hands. Others asked how Bolt Lee Sin strategies worked without Flash. The fanbase erupted into theorycraft and imitation. On stage, Jiang Ming calmly returned to lane, the crowd still chanting his name. Toys' earlier confidence had been shattered in an instant. The all-star crowd had just witnessed a textbook display of mechanical creativity. Classic Lee Sin mechanics applied with precise timing and a flash that turned a routine kick into an instant death sentence. The mid-lane solo final had begun with a demonstration of why sometimes the smallest tricks, timing, spacing, and a bit of invention make the difference between a hopeful match and a spectacle. Bang! A loud noise nearly rattled the tightly sealed door of OGN's lounge and could have been heard all the way out in the venue. Pray, close the door, Anbishin shouted at the man by the doorway. Everyone else sighed at the familiar ritual. The only reason they even bothered was the fear that the organizers would come down and demand compensation for damaged property if things got too rowdy. Shai, the older brother figure on the team, looked at his jungler with a touch of pity and patted Insect's shoulder. Insect, look on the bright side. Champion mechanics always get discovered. JM's been making videos for ages, maybe. Insect said nothing. Madlife coughed twice, a quick, awkward noise. Comforting him further would only make things worse. The team competition was about to start, and they didn't need anyone's mentality getting messed up. JM's going to win again, Prey mumbled. They all glanced at the stage. Orianna had been shoved under tower and was low on health, trembling with fear. Toys couldn't beat JM. There won't be any surprises in the second game either, someone said. Being crushed even on his best champion left little to say. Wrong. Today's match depends on you. Mid has to hold no matter what. Shai urged. I will, Wrong replied. We've prepared. We studied the laning habits of several LPL players, someone else added. We'll win, the room echoed. Get ready, it's almost our turn on stage. LPL's had their spotlight the last 2 days. It's time to bring OGN's honor back to our region. Half an hour after Jiang Ming finished sweeping Toys 2-0 and finished his interview, the big countdown ended. The screen flashed. Waka Waka reporting to command. We've landed on time. Chat exploded. Hurry up. I want to see LPL crush the Koreans. Finally, let's settle old scores. What a pile of trash OGN is. Can we say 2-0? Sure, but I'd rather they pulled the other team's internet cable. Why argue with Koreans? They played dirty at Worlds, esports or not. Be polite. We're a great nation. Show some grace. The guy upstairs is magnanimous. I like that. Viewership on the TGA streaming platform spiked. TV5 saw a bump too. Middle-aged people who flipped onto the sports channel didn't know esports, but were fed up with cultural appropriation scandals online, and when they heard the Chinese representative team and the Korean representative team meet in the finals of the first League of Legends Shanghai All-Stars, they sat down and watched. Maybe they didn't care about the game itself, but China versus Korea? That had their attention. The director cut to the LPL commentary desk. Hello, all League of Legends summoners, welcome back, a clear female voice announced. LOL fans both in the arena and at home brightened. Ma Fanshu, replacing Wawa as the desk host, wore a snug red dress that caught the lights and made her look both elegant and dignified. Our all-star skill competitions just finished. The position champions are Mid JM, Bot Duo, Wei Xiao and Dor. Top, Ma Fanshu controlled the flow, while Miller and Su Xiaoyan stayed on stage to break down the match. The director flashed recent stats for both teams. OGN's average game time, dragon control, and gold per minute were all solid, but LPL's numbers were even better. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Both regions had come into the finals undefeated, but overall, LPL dominated OGN in almost every metric. These are two powerhouse teams, Su Xiaoyan said carefully. But from individual data, the difference is biggest in mid. JM has opened a big gap on ambition. That's right, the key is still mid. If OGN's ambition can withstand JM's lane pressure, OGN has a shot. On the main stage, players were taking their seats. PDD strolled out from backstage, fiddling with his gear and headphones off, and he scowled at the host's words. He was still sour about his loss in the solo competition. You could say players' personalities stayed the same no matter the stage. They claimed friendship first, competition second, but losing still stung. Ming Kai wanted to laugh but bit it back. He'd also been knocked out in the semis. Jiang Ming tried to cheer PDD up. Look at the bright side. We're in the team finals. The team champion gets an extra S3 spot. That's better than the solo. Wei Xiao and Pang Ran nodded and agreed. Is there a chance you three already have championships, Lao Jiang? They teased. PDD glowered. No, in the team comp, you have to promise I'll get this championship. Don't worry, just don't feed top lane and I'll carry you. Really? Really? Okay, then I want 2 of your F4 camps. Get lost. You're playing favorites. Why can Lao Jiang get F4 but I can't? Because I'm handsome. Because, damn it, I really can't compete. Laughter eased the tension. Then the match bell rang and communications quieted. Clang! The S3 draft BGM filled the arena, heavy, dramatic, battlefield music. The blue and purple pick band screen lit up on the giant display. The 2013 All-Stars Finals had officially begun. In the side coin toss, OGN won, taking side choice for games 1 and 3. Game 1, LPL is on purple, the announcer said. Chat jumped again. What the hell? We lost side choice at home? Good. Only the weak rely on luck. We rely on strength. Red side is fine. Counterpick slot helps JM or PDD. Feels like everyone will target mid to handle JM. Playing at home is annoying. At the blue side player area, the roar from the crowd made Ambi Shin crank his headphone volume up. Is banning Riven okay? He asked. Reach stood behind them and sketched the opening draft on his notebook. Unlike most coaches who depended on deliveries and logistics, Reach was a legend. He'd won the Sky OGN StarCraft Championship back in 2002, then moved into coaching Najin and led them to a sweep in the 2011 WCG Lowell Korean qualifiers. His blend of StarCraft macro thinking with MOBA tactics had reshaped Korean esports. In 2013, OGN had appointed him to lead their all-star team, and his record spoke for itself. Even if OGN's playstyle hadn't been as flashy as LPL's lately, their results were rock solid. Reach wanted to avoid the risk of a top player turning Riven into a game ender, especially with the chance of a mid-top flex pick. OGN first banned Riven. LPL's first ban was Kennen. The director narrated, Riven was a shared ban for both mid and top. It didn't hurt LPL's strategies. Kennen, though, if OGN were considering a split push style, that could be relevant. Reach's lineup choices hinted at a preference for poke and control. OGN also banned Hecarim. Seems they want to prevent heavy engage. Su Xiaoyan's analyst mind kicked in. If they ban Hecarim, then the third pick could be predictable. To everyone's surprise, the analyst was right. Jarvan 4 flashed up on the ban list. Jarvan's EQ combo plus his ultimate serves big engage, so if blue side worries about Hecarim, Jarvan's in their sights too, Ma Fanshu explained on air. Jiang Ming read OGN's draft intent and used the second ban to throw Kha'Zix at ambition, a little mockery, some said, for the enemy jungler. The blue side's third ban, as predicted, took Jarvan 4 out as well. 666, that new host's analysis is crazy. I thought she was just a post-match host, but she's a hidden analyst. Jiang Ming leaned forward. Take Zyra, he said, taking the call from Abu and White Crescent behind him. They'll probably try a Jace poke comp. Let's strip their disengage. PDD sipped his water. They want first pick Jace? How about my Stone Man? PDD offered hopefully. Jiang Ming shook his head, smiling slyly. Lao Pu, what if I pick Zac top for you? Zac? No way. Lao Jiang, you're evil. PDD still remembered being one-shot by a training Jace and winced. I'm not that keen on Zac. We're lane swapping this game to pressure their Jace. Zac's passive helps you not worry about tower dives. Lane swap? PDD pictured Jace stuck under tower and grinned, nodding fast. Okay. Lane swap sounds good. Who am I? The king of Zac. The crowd roared. The blue side's very first pick, Blind Monk, appeared on the champions screen. Across these 2 days, the blind monk debate had been hot. Who was better, the Goryo Saint Monk Insec or LPL's Ming Kai? The Pigment Insec would show his skills first this match. OGN locked in their jungler's blind monk, the commentator said. I wonder how LPL will respond. LPL kept their eyes closed to the opponent's tactic. First pick, Caitlyn for AD. Second pick, a preemptive move, Elise, the Spider Queen. The director captioned the thought, within the web, only the spider is safe. With Elise picked to counter the possible Jace poke and jungle pressure, Reach didn't rush to direct his players. He left space for his top laner to think. Jace had lane priority against Renekton, but Elise's gank threat complicated things. If you take the top priority, I can invade the spider's jungle and keep her busy, Reach told his top. Okay, came the reply. LPL's next 2 picks locked in, Jace and Thresh. Madlife quietly picked Thresh, confident in his hooks. The desk observed, LPL's 3rd and 4th picks are Annie and Zac. JM's plan seems to open mid and bot. That Annie should be support. With Caitlyn's range, they can push lanes fast. PDD will have to soak pressure top, but with Elise around, Jace won't be reckless. OGN completed a standard poke comp. Varus for AD and Twisted Fate in mid. It's exactly the same. No changes at all, someone muttered. Jiang Ming, sitting in his chair, suddenly burst into laughter. He hadn't expected OGN to be so confident in their composition that they brought it verbatim. Twisted Fate mid, bold and predictable. Laojiang, what are you laughing at? Planning to teach them with LeBlanc, someone teased. Nothing, just had a funny thought, Jiang Ming said, still smiling. Xiaopang, lock in Diana. Okay, Mingi, Pang Ran replied. A new moon is rising, Jiang Ming murmured as Diana locked in. Diana, scorn of the moon. Chapter 143, Doraemon pulls out a lane swap. Diana! There it is. Doraemon's pulled a brand new champion out of his 4-dimensional pocket. The purple team's 5th pick locked in. With the planned position swap confirmed, the lineups for Game 1 were set. Blue team, top Jace, jungler Lee Sin, mid Twisted Fate, bottom Varus, and Thresh. Red team, LPL, top Zac, jungler Elise, mid Diana, bottom Caitlyn, and Annie. Stay focused. These are the last 2 games. Watch your teammates' calls. Don't mess up at the end, and get hung up on the pillar of shame by the fans. During the final prep, Jiang Ming composed himself and reminded the roster. At level 1, Caitlyn and Annie, always watch your positioning. Ming Kai, start near the bottom of the jungle and get to top quickly for the dive. Pang Ran, when you're soaking turret hits, don't be greedy. You cannot take unnecessary trades. Lao Pu, take experience if you can. If not, don't force it. Keep your health up. If Jace dies twice early and you only die once, we can hunt him down around 15 minutes. Because they were running a lane swap, Jiang Ming didn't want surprises. PDD laughed. Relax. I'm the LPL's #1 anti-pressure king, right? By the time Jiang Ming finished his calls, the broadcast camera shifted to the loading screen and slowly pulled back to show the whole Shanghai All-Stars arena. The cheer captain, waving red and white flags, had been late but was there. Beside him stood a muscular man with a headband and a wooden drum strapped to his chest, hammers in each hand. On the loading bar, hitting 90%, he hammered the drum hard. Boom, 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 boom. The rhythm caught fire. LPL, go, LPL, go. Zhao Yang's roar poured out like a tide. Nearly 10,000 LPL fans exploded in unison. Overseas viewers watching the stream felt the energy ripple through their speakers. This was the kind of passionate home crowd only Chinese esports could produce. After the LPL cheers died down, the arena fell into game-focused quiet. No chance for OGN this time. Only the home crowd's voice echoed loud. The 10 champions purchased their items and moved as one toward the river. Both teams paused on either side, neither willing to step forward. LPL was waiting for minions to spawn. OGN was wary of Annie's level 1 W stun. Neither expected that the Caitlyn-Annie duo were planning a level 1 lane swap, sending them to top instead of bottom. We're going up. Laupu, come help Ming Kai hit the jungle a couple times. Got it. Do we need a mid-roam check? No, play it like we practiced. Jiang Ming appreciated Ming Kai volunteering to show mid. He'd been groomed as an SK caliber jungler in another timeline and still had that protect mid instinct. Diana into Twisted Fate wasn't a matchup that could crush her. If she put a point in Q at level 1 to push, Twisted Fate would struggle to punish. The current Diana, even pre-ER swap, was very strong. Her kit refreshed marks aggressively. Her third attack burst and the attack speed steroids from her kit made her a terror. In the lane swap scenario, with teammates nearby, she might not even need to wait until 6 to start influencing fights. 2013 League of Legends Shanghai All-Stars Finals, Best of 3 Game 1, LPL vs OGN, Game 1 begins. The stadium announcer's voice surged through the arena as the commentators started breaking down the level 1 setups. At the start, LPL's mid and support look a little ahead. The other 3 and OGN's 5 are about even. A slow start could mean a game lost. That rule had been hammered into everyone after NXG's 3-round stomp. Mafanshu took Jiang Ming's suggested commentary approach, and it paid off. OGN's 5 players are spread out, support and jungler placing river wards. That's expected. Annie can stack her pyromania at level 1 with W, so if multiple people are caught, the blue team could lose a skirmish, the co-commentator added. I didn't expect LPL not to consider invading, though. Maybe they want to play safe in Game 1. Purple side lacks level 1 damage and control. Forcing it might not help. Both sides busied themselves on the river. Then, while the crowd thought nothing would happen, Pangran and Wei Xiao's duo moved up from their 3-wolf camp. Zac, who had been near the top side, slunk toward bottom. At level 1, pay attention to stacking minions. Little Pang, chip at Jace whenever you can. Wei Xiao, keep your push consistent. Ming Kai, be ready to call your arrival time. Okay, OGN didn't notice LPL's swap. Jace had helped Lee Sin start his jungle. With Thresh on his team, his double buff potential at level 3 would make bottom lane promising. There wasn't much point to ganking an unhurt Zac early. Had Jiang Ming stuck to the original BP and picked Diana plus Nocturne, week before 6, he might have considered invading, but this Elise-Annie combo made Insect cautious. What Insect hadn't accounted for was that as he cleared from top to bottom, he would run into PDD's Zac. Caitlyn and Annie have swapped with Zac. Minions have spawned. This is a lane swap. Miller was the first to flag the unusual movement. Zac went bottom to help Elise with her blue, and OGN hasn't noticed. Jay started with a Doran's blade, no sustain. If he gets caught, Shy will be in trouble. Jace hated lane swaps. As a ranged bully, he relied on poking and maintaining lane control. When a duo shows up in his solo lane, he loses both the ranged advantage and the ability to safely secure last hits and experience, especially against long-range champions. A delayed Jace is a huge tactical loss. The lane swap must have been pre-planned. Caitlyn Annie's laning strength pulled OGN's attention and misdirected them. At 1 minute 50, Jace, having cleared jungle monsters, reached top and noticed Zac absent. As he paused, a flicker from the brush cut across his peripheral, and then the purple team's duo hammered him. Sheba! Jace cursed, startled. Annie stepped out of the brush first, crossing the minion wave and autoing Jace. Caitlyn followed through with long-range autos. Jace had range, but against 2 champions with even longer reach, he couldn't touch a minion without taking damage. Pangran had even taken additional attack speed runes to make his harass count. Should we swap back? Pry asked. Before Shy could answer, shot caller Madlife vetoed it. We can't swap now. The rotation's going to cost us experience. Falling behind in levels will ruin Insect's rhythm. Just then, Madlife's face went pale. Zac, who'd been hiding in a nearby brush, wriggled and stole experience from 3 melee minions at extreme range, then bounced back toward the safety of the tower, smirking in the slightest way only visible on the live feed. The audience outside the broadcast room laughed until they cried. Inside the IG base, the remaining players' expressions contorted into memes, disbelief and amusement in equal measure. People joked about the anti-pressure legend PDD and his ability to soak hits without blinking. "I'm here," came the call. Ming Kai had finished blue, smited red, and hit level 3. The updated jungle gave up some gold, but massive experience from double buffs let junglers spike level 3 quickly. Jace is suffering up top. Wei Xiao's last hitting is immaculate. The minions aren't moving. But the cannon minion is here. Caitlyn probably won't keep stacking the wave. Jace's farm is better than melee Zac. Spider Queen's coming. Su Xiaoyan tracked the purple team's movements. Elise at level 3 and an Annie-Caitlyn duo looked set to dive. Annie's passive was 1 ability away from full charge. A WQ combo plus follow-up from Elise would be an unavoidable chain of crowd control. The arena hushed. The crowd leaned in for the dive. Madlife frantically relayed calls. Retreat! Retreat! Shai tried to fall back, but Mingkai and Pangran forced the issue. Annie tanked turret aggro first, casting W to stack her stun, and following with Q. Annie's WQ, stun lands. Elise follows with Cocoon. Caitlyn Wei Xiao even set a level 2 trap. Jace is done. 3 chained crowd controls at level 1 are death for anyone. Pangran pulled off after landing the stun and left the finish to Mingkai's Elise. The coordination was flawless. Stun, Cocoon, damage sequence, spider form dive, and Elise's E to hop out of turret range at the end. Jace's last sliver of health was clipped off by Caitlyn's headshot. First blood. LPL. Wei Xiao killed OGN, Shai, Jace. Chapter 144. Anyway, it's 2 neuro. I can do this too. Requesting monthly votes. Aigu, I can't move. Annie's stun hit first, then Spider Queen's cocoon, and Caitlyn's trap was perfectly placed. Shai was completely locked down from start to finish. When first blood was announced, the OGN commentary desk let out 2 disbelieving groans. Jace was still level 1 at 4 minutes. His fate was sealed. Dying once wasn't the worst part. It was the ignite and the experience lost when minions were taken by the tower. I'll go bottom to babysit Zac, one of the casters muttered. Okay, I'll clear Blind Monk's top jungle and stop him again. LPL had prepared more than one method to punish Jace, a chain of interlocking boar traps designed to capitalize on teleport timings, dives, and vision, but the audience's attention didn't stay on top for long. After Jace's death, eyes snapped to bottom. OGN's bot and jungler couldn't stand by while Zac ran rampant, could they? Madlife's hooks are so precise. His Q pulled PDD under the tower, Varus did piled up poke, and Blind Monk followed to try for the dive, the desk narrated. But Zac reached level 2. Those 2 early minions he ate were decisive. At level 2, his Q and E make Blind Monk's first gank ineffective. The 3 OGN players still tried for it, triggering his passive. Could they A him down? No. Varus and the AD took 2 tower shots already. They couldn't tank it. Oh my god. JM's Zac pick is brilliant, Miller breathed. Even if he gets dove early, with that passive, he can at least come out even. Annie was there. After initiating the stun and soaking tower shots top, Pangran didn't bother watching the rest of the Jace snipe. With the assist gold and the money saved by skipping a control ward and a few potions at level 1, he'd rushed bottom with only boots of speed. Heh, if you've got guts, don't run, he taunted. PDD, who'd reformed into a blob under his tower, watched the OGN players get chunked by Annie's W and heard 3 of them pop the quickness. He couldn't help snickering. A bunch of cowards. Annie didn't even have her stun up. What are you scared of? Lao Pu, you're so stubborn. I saw you greedy for minions and eating 2 hooks. If Xiao Pang hadn't shown up, your passive and the quickness would have been wasted. After confirming Blind Monk's location, Mingkai swaggered onto the path where Jace would return to lane, complaining about his top lane while joking about minions. PDD didn't argue about the hooks. That support's Q is pinpoint. With Varus's E slowing first, it's hard to dodge. Wei Xiao, be careful in teamfights later. Understood. They also split tower damage perfectly, Pangran relayed to mid. Normal. Tanking towers was a standard tactic even in solo queue. In the S3 patch, towers were less imposing. A level 3 jungler plus 2 level 2 laners could frequently dive twice. In pro matches, it wasn't rare to see the first tower down by 5 minutes. Many teams hated teleport for this reason. If you lost a tower early, teleport targets dwindled and snowball spiraled. In this game, because Caitlyn and Annie didn't immediately shove the turret, but instead let minions and Spider Queen finish Jace's lane, the top tower didn't die instantly. Still, with a minion wave and Caitlyn's autos bearing down, the first tower falling was only a matter of time. Push the tower, then swap back. Take dragon on bot, Zhang Ming pinged. Jace was already half health from another Spider Queen assist, and the top minion wave had been mostly cleared. Everyone agreed. Wei Xiao, absorbed in farming, glanced up and toward mid. His pupils narrowed. As expected, a short-range Diana against a long-range Twisted Fate. If Twisted Fate could stay calm there, he wasn't pressuring at all. Zhang Ming always leveled Q at 1 against TF, using its splash to chip the enemy while clearing waves fast thanks to his passive's attack speed and AoE. Diana's level 1 wave clear was even faster than TF's all-red card draw. By tanking a few autos and avoiding red card splash, Diana could shove TF back, forcing him to play defensively. By level 2, Jiang Ming baited Bishin into tanking a wave under the impression a level 3 Spider Queen might roam mid. TF fell behind in the first 2 waves, letting Diana recall and return with Adoran's ring. With Q leveled, 1W+2 passive autos cleared waves. TF couldn't force trades. Waiting for level 6? With top tower being pressured and Jace stuck at level 1 for minutes, where would Jace go to impact the map? 30 seconds later, Annie, who had been playing bodyguard and clearing bot with Zac, quietly roamed mid and forced TF's health down. At 5.5 minutes, PDD returned top with Adoran's shield, cloth armor, and a ruby crystal. He smiled as he looked at Jace, still sitting on his starting Doran's blade. Tanking pressure, he thought, was delightful. Soak for 3 or 4 minutes, then come back to lane with full tank items and bully the enemy. He needed only to control the wave, farm calmly, and occasionally E in to trade after checking the jungler's position. Once levels evened out, Zac's trading power was overwhelming. A few abilities and autos, plus his blob regen, would leave Jace in tatters. At 7:30, Jiang Ming pushed and, together with Caitlyn and the support jungler duo that had swapped down, secured the first dragon. Plus 190 gold popped over all 5 of their heads. On the scoreboard, the purple team led by 3,000 gold, 11.9k to 8.9k. "You have to help me. I can't lane anymore," Shy pleaded over voice. Madlife's brain raced for a tempo reset. "I'll try mid while I took dragon." Madlife and Varus pushed a wave and left. Seizing the opening, Madlife let his AD recall and then walked mid. Twisted Fate would hit level 6 soon. If they freed mid first, they could either lock down Zac top, who had no passive, or pressure Caitlyn pushing bot. Understood. Someone's coming? Jiang Ming raised an eyebrow at the half-health TF who'd burned his potions and approached the wave. "Wait a moment. I'll come to mid to counter-gank after I buy my items." Ming Kai had amassed a lot of gold, so after the dragon, he recalled to upgrade. The sooner Spider Queen got Sorcerer's Shoes, the better for their power. "No need," Jiang Ming barked. "Factory, keep ganking top and shut down Jace completely. Blind Monk will definitely try to intervene." And Bishin was looking for an opening. A level 6 half-health TF without a support nearby was vulnerable. There was risk in holding position. He was wary and expected a trap. Of course, Jiang Ming wasn't a timid player who only waited for teammates, and then suddenly, he acted. Who gave you the confidence to be so reckless in front of a level 6 Diana and a level 4 Thresh without the quickness? The camera teased, just before everything exploded. Jiang Ming controlled his champion, swung his crescent-shaped blade. First hit, second hit. Then the director cut the camera. Everyone expected a normal exchange. Whoosh! Shiba! And Bishin's hand hovered over W, nerves tight, bracing to stop Diana's QR combo. But when Diana activated her ultimate and lunged, the silver-white crescent of moonlight slammed at him. He froze. Diana's R wasn't starting her rotation. She jumped and landed a crescent strike midair, applying the passive mark. "I am the moon's chosen." The crescent cut TF, ignite burned, a passive auto landed. Diana cast R again. Pale cascade. Orbs exploded, white flashes of the quickness erupted in mid. A ghostly blue chain cut through Diana's afterimage where she had landed. Completely ignoring Thresh, Jiang Ming landed his final auto. "Empty," he said, the kill secured. Diana's lunar rush tore space. Before Twisted Fate could even card select, his health had dropped below half and then evaporated. Beside Thresh, Bishin dropped. CNLPL. JM killed KRLCL Ambition. What? What the? A solo kill? A 1v2. Facing a roaming support, JM turned the tables and one-shot him. It was a split second. JM did all Diana's damage. On stage, Miller shouted. Su Xiaoyan and Ma Fanshu were momentarily silent. He started with Lunar Rush, then used Crescent Strike midair. That's the RQ combo, applying the mark in midair. Wow, what a smooth play. OGN's mid was killed before he could even draw a card. And Bishin sighed after the black and white replay. For him, Diana and Nidalee blurred into one instant image. He'd been vaporized. If the opponent had planned to bait Thresh's hook and then punish, this was the worst-case scenario. Thresh's presence or absence hadn't mattered. Diana still killed TF. "Looks like I'm not fit for mid anymore," he muttered. Madlife stopped breathing for a beat too. The moment Diana dodged his Thresh hook with a preemptive the quickness, he realized The opponent had been deliberately waiting. The OGN booth went quiet. As trouble broke out mid, Top's clash between Blind Monk and Jace and LPL's Zac and Spider Queen erupted simultaneously. At the cost of Spider Queen's the quickness and Zac being forced low again, they traded for Jace's head, and Insect's Blind Monk escaped by ward hopping. Bot wasn't spared. Prey had to fall back to the second tower against Annie's aggressive pyromania and could only use Q to pick up minion gold. Korean fans watching overseas seethed. What are these five playing? They raged online. Are they even trying? You get solo killed in lane and the draft's outplayed. If we lose, swim back home. On LPL voice chat, a strange laugh surfaced. PDD chuckled. Tsk, these OGN guys haven't been taught by old Zhang enough. How could Zhang Ming not predict the possibility of your support roaming mid? Oh damn it, Ming Kai, you stole my kill and took my cannon, you animal. Wei Xiao protested in the team comms, but laughing under his breath proved they'd taken a massive early game lead. After the kill and clearing the nearby minions, Jiang Ming's recall fetched nearly 500 gold. With his previous purchases, he bought a second Doran's ring, boots of speed, and a Negatron cloak. In S3, Abyssal Scepter was a fantastically cost-effective item on Diana. OGN realized with a headache that Jace on top was no longer their only problem. There was a Diana now, and Bi Shin dared not step into Lunar Rush range. With jungler and support vision pressure, the positions of Lee Sin and Thresh were effectively revealed. Without threat of a countergank, Diana could fire at will. RQ Auto E could reduce a target from full to critical in one exchange. If Twisted Fate tried to use W first, even hiding under tower was dangerous. Lee Sin tried aggressive moves, but the quickness was forced out multiple times by counterganking Diana. Diana had hit a power spike. TF, missing his ultimate, had to roam to recover, but Ambishin was pinned mid while top and bot were already disadvantaged. Blue side just couldn't find a foothold anywhere. By 12 minutes, Zhang Ming shoveled a wave and vanished from mid. Ambishin signaled top and bot, drew a card for a WQ combo to clear the wave, and used ultimate defensively to scout. But he hadn't expected that LPL had targeted him all along. Compared to Jace in the bottom duo, a half-health Twisted Fate was the easiest prey. Over the wall, Cocoon, Spider Queen's crowd control was just a setup. The next moment, Diana flew in, RQWA, all her burst unleashed and the kills secured again. Twisted Fate died. Lee Sin reluctantly showed to catch the wave. LPL, having secured mid, immediately rotated to bot. Varus and Thresh had to abandon their turret and flee. Wei Xiao took down another tower without a contest. After taking turret gold, the second dragon spawned a minute later. LPL recalled, resupplied, pushed the wave, and grabbed dragon, another 190 gold to each. Caitlyn's usual mid-game weakness was being masked by Team Gold. Woohoo, nice. Jiang Ming's unstoppable. Varus melted in a second. PDD's Zac is disrupting their backline completely. They couldn't touch him. Wei Xiao's ADC is so comfortable. Just stand behind and auto. Ha, Jace made me laugh. His EQ hit Diana, but didn't break her shield. Level 14 versus level 9 top lane. He's basically a support. How miserable. OGN is getting crushed. I could do it too. In Yunnan, several teenagers in blue and white school uniforms pressed against a floor-to-ceiling window, faces inches from the glass as the all-star broadcast played on the big screen. Tianye, you're so good at ranked. Ever thought about going pro? A kid in a red hoodie nudged the gentle-looking boy with glasses. I haven't thought about it, Tianye replied. You have to. Become famous like Zhang Ming. My dad saw the all-star game yesterday and asked what time our match was today, another kid gushed. Then why aren't you watching with him? I don't dare. I'm afraid he'll compare me to Zhang Ming and then beat me up. Pfft, who can compare to Zhang Ming? They laughed as LPL continued to dominate. At SKT Esports Club, Koma stepped back from the screen and quietly asked the young mid who had joined after scrimming with NXG, "How's the research going?" "We don't stand a chance," the player answered. "With mid like this, the second game's result won't change either. Chan Rongheng can't shut down Jiang Ming in mid. The LPL mid and jungler coordination is too strong. In this patch, if you can't win mid, you lose." Koma smiled. He had high hopes for the talented newcomer who'd been training hard. "I'm not asking about the first game. If you face Jiang Ming head-on, do you have confidence to beat him?" "Yes. Li Xiangye said seriously. He'd learned from scrims with Jiang Ming and believed he could win in later games. Don't worry, Sangyok, I'll make plays in the game. Benji clapped his hand on Faker's shoulder. League isn't one-on-one. The jungler will be there with the mid. We're the best partners, Faker replied, and Koma grinned. Then, young men, we have to work harder. If we lose All-Star, our region could lose a slot. Our team's first half form wasn't great. If we want Worlds in S3, we need more work. To quote Jiang Ming, consider whether this is your only chance to make Worlds in your career. Authors afterward. Yesterday's host interaction bit was a brain fart on my part. Every book I write, I get weird flashes of inspiration. For the All-Star plot, I've accelerated things a bit. It'll be completely finished tomorrow. The groundwork is laid, and the next stage will develop quickly. Please keep supporting me. Let's set a small goal. Old Ching will maintain 10,000 words daily for the first 3 months. I still hope everyone will keep supporting me, and if you can, please enable auto-subscribe. It's the end of the month. I'm asking for monthly tickets. Chapter 145, All-Stars. Outside the arena, every eye, from pro esports teams to casual League of Legends players, was fixed on the Shanghai All-Stars. The dominance shown by the LPL squad felt like a trip back to Season 2, to the era when the legendary M5 burst onto the scene. Unrestrained creativity, endless tactical sets, and a profound understanding of game mechanics. This time, though, the LPL Dream Team either matched or exceeded that greatness in raw individual skill and execution. In the first game, after nullifying Jace early with a lane swap, the purple team pushed towers and secured dragons relentlessly. Caitlyn's item progression accelerated, and Diana pulled off a 1v2 kill on Twisted Fate in mid, further crippling Anbishin's champion. A Twisted Fate who couldn't reliably use his ultimate, and a Jace whose early game was ruined, meant much of OGN's plan was gone. The bottom lane duo couldn't hold either. With outer towers in top and bottom down, Caitlyn and Annie roamed mid, while Zac, quietly farming waves, was already hitting level 4. The jungler and support both packed crowd control and damage. The jungler packed enough damage to threaten anyone. When the Lee Sin performing an insect attempt saw them, he had to ward hop out, and a hair's breadth delay in reaction time would mean instant death. OGN tried to respond in the mid-game. Against a Diana who rushed an Abyssal Scepter, and Shin attempted a lane swap, sending Twisted Fate top to answer Zac. He'd overlooked one thing. A poorly developed Jace simply could not deal with Diana. Even if Jace hit a combo, it didn't break Diana's W shield. On worldwide streams, one EQ combo could not even fully dent Diana's shield. The gap was glaring. From the moment Diana pushed a wave into bottom's inner tower until Thresh moved preemptively to save his teammate, it took less than 2 seconds. Jace was already dead. Oh my god, Diana's performance is insane. They'll nerf her next patch. She killed Jace with one combo when he had 2/3 HP. I don't think champions are the only problem. Oracle's elixir has too much power. Once you're ahead, oracles can completely devour the opponent's vision. One side gets a permanent buff, the other has to rebuy it after dying. That just accelerates the snowball. Game designers at Riot, the FIST team in this universe, were watching the broadcast on every channel. Balance issues were being discussed urgently. The game couldn't be dominated by a single team. One-sided stomps would ruin future tournaments. Nerfs were demanded. Zed, Riven, Diana, Talon, all the high-burst champions were slated for damage reductions. Some suggested changing Talon's silence into a massive slow. Others said jungle experience and the value of buffs needed attention. A level 3 jungler, when most laners were only level 2, was simply too strong. Someone proposed adding another jungle camp to force junglers to farm more and curb level 3 dives. The devs sighed. Every fix would create more work and new trade-offs. Back in the match, after snowballing, the LPL lineup shredded OGN. Zac's long-range engage and Annie's devastating ultimate were deadly. Even after an early Diana could work as a semi-engage tool. Jace was underfarm, Twisted Fate lacked damage, and Varus had no room to breathe. For the next 10 minutes, the game fell into a loop. Clear minions, engage, kill, take towers. When lanes reset, the LPL 5 vanished, swept the jungle, recalled to update items, then returned. Even when the LPL recalled, minion waves kept pushing into OGN's side. the 5 OGN players couldn't use those windows to counterpush or check Dragon. Twisted Fate, the only split-push threat, couldn't handle Zac or Diana alone and couldn't reach a tower to threaten anyone. By 18 minutes, OGN's outer towers were all down. At 19.5 minutes, Diana single-handedly killed the Lee Sin warding the jungle, held Thresh in place, and Zhonyaed to avoid Twisted Fate's gold card. With flanks in position, they trapped 4 OGN players. Only a low-health Jace escaped. Under their mid laner's command, the LPL players took mid and top inhibitors, waited for super minions, then turned to Baron. In S3, Baron only gave stats, no minion push enhancement. With such an advantage, whether or not they took Baron didn't matter. Zac and Annie initiated. Diana followed with a fast combo, and the team collapsed on the enemy. Caitlyn with Last Whisper picked off targets one by one, securing a triple kill in front of the Nexus turrets. Why not a quadra? Thresh was simply too underleveled. A level 10 support couldn't survive facing a level 16 Diana's Engage. At 23 minutes, after killing 4 opponents, the purple team pushed a single wave and ended the game. LPL led 1-0. In OGN's locker room, the players were quiet and confused. Shy felt he no longer knew how to play Jace. His pre-teamfight EQ combos hit, but they did nothing. Against Zac's massive health and sustain, his empowered Q did less than Zac's passive healing. He thought of a word from South Korea's old-time medicine, guasha, scraping. The feeling of being rubbed down, helpless in front of an unstoppable force. And Bishin looked at his hands and felt something else. Watching footage in third person hadn't given him this directness. After going up against Diana in Game 1, he finally saw why mid laners in past teams had looked defeated. He'd worked to get his form back for this All-Star, but against JM it wasn't just mechanical pressure like facing Faker. It was a higher-order dominance. Everything from trades, last hitting, wave control, to jungle support coordination felt superior. It was as if his ultimate had been removed. He wanted to fly, but couldn't. Against a player with both elite mechanics and awareness, there were no easy workarounds. You can counter a mechanic-heavy player by stacking help, but someone who's great at mechanics and macro leaves you no angle. "Coach, let's focus our tempo on top in Game 2, and Bishin said, relief in his voice. "I'll be second support." They were surprised. Their own mid laner was conceding the matchup. It made sense. The first game had been tempo-oriented TF, but he was solo killed and left without options. If top is targeted and Caitlyn keeps pushing, TF can't teleport into usefulness. Reach, the coach, nodded, satisfaction showing. The scary thing isn't making a mistake, it's not recognizing your limits. Chanyong might quit mid after this All-Star, someone muttered. A 24-year-old veteran beaten by younger stars could very well leave the stage. "Cheer up, we were just out-strategized. We have trump cards," Reach said, determined. Win both of the next games. Fight without regrets. Halftime ended and both teams returned to the stage. The LPL crowd, energized by a near-perfect first game, shouted with renewed intensity. Their cheers rose in waves from the player tunnel to the stage, forming a thunderous, oppressive sound wall. The 5 OGN players could not understand the words, but they knew what the noise meant. The louder the cheers, the more pressing the pressure. Band's pick began. LPL, on blue, first locked in Jace. "Oh, Jace? PDD's going to lecture someone," murmured the crowd. OGN grabbed a Kennen and Ryze flex for top mid. Commentators speculated what JM would pick, and he surprised everyone with Gragas, the champion he'd been famous for using to create game-turning plays. Ryze and Kennen swapped roles. Kennen could reach mid, but his Q was easy to dodge and he might struggle to stop Gragas. LPL made an early vision invasion. Jace had a comfortable start in the first 3 levels. OGN's jungler tried to counter-gank, but LPL adjusted. Mingkai's Hecarim didn't gank top at level 3. He took early points in Q and circled instead. As levels rose, Ryze, who'd started with a Sapphire Crystal, couldn't sustain Jace's poke. The All-Star Finals venue roared. First blood, dragon, first tower. Each pivotal moment set the crowd off anew. OGN in this game appeared more resilient. They played safe. Their jungle support duo placed nearly non-stop wards. On the surface, the match looked balanced, but high vision came at an economic cost. The jungle and support sacrificed development, while LPL's methodical attrition slowly widened the resource gap. Zhang Ming opened the play with a successful top gank to get first blood. then used vision dominance in the top half to call his teammates and whittle Kennen down. Direct fights were rare, but by controlling resources and vision, LPL forced gradual advantages. At mid-game Dragon Contest, OGN's AD was quickly killed by Gragas, costing 2 deaths and the fight. The purple team realized they were losing. Successful ganks still favored the LPL gold advantage, and not ganking led to slow resource erosion. When LPL gets a lead, they don't give you breathing room, viewers said. Madlife died repeatedly and lacked the gold for control wards to clear his jungle. Commentators lamented the difference in quality. OGN's 5 looked naive against LPL, led by JM's command. Midway through a skirmish, Gragas's explosive cask opened the fight, and Mingkai's Hecarim charged the high ground. At 23 minutes, the purple team wiped. At 26 minutes, with Baron on their side, LPL's 5 dismantled OGN's Nexus turrets and finished the game. "We won!" roared the stadium. 2-0. It's over. LPL destroyed OGN's base. On stage, the players' reactions matched the crowd. Pangran had tried to keep them focused on finishing the base, but when the Nexus dipped to 200 HP, Mingkai and others leapt from their seats in elation, hands leaving keyboards. Jiang Ming, whose champion was often portrayed as tipsy but who himself stayed steady, and another teammate, delivered the final blow. PDD beside him punched the air for the camera. Wei Xiao and Ming Kai, who at least had an IPL 5 championship to their names, shared the moment. PDD, who hadn't gotten much out of IG the previous year, finally had an all-star title to vindicate him. Lights flashed across the dome, glow sticks clacked, and the audience's cheering became a tidal roar around the young players' center stage. "Quick, send out all the pre-prepared tweets," Hu Qiming, head of the LPL, ordered. "Okay," his staff answered. Promoting JM as the region's star was, in Hu Qiming's mind, the right call. The event had been a perfect success, venue atmosphere at its peak, online viewership breaking records, and crucially, the championship stayed home. Just as Ma Fanshu's voice congratulating the LPL Dream Team faded at the venue, Tencent had already pushed out homepage announcements. "Peak glory, LPL Dream Team returns victorious," read the headline, followed by a celebratory blurb. The LPL Dream Team defeated their opponents 2-0 at the 2013 Shanghai All-Stars, claiming the title and securing an extra S3 World Championship slot for LPL. A nationwide Battle Night celebration was announced with double IP and XP, permanent skin chest prizes, and a week of free champion trials for those used in the All-Star. News feeds, Weibo hot searches, TV recaps, and esports forums transmitted the result at lightning speed. Players who hadn't watched the broadcast only realized later that night when client notifications popped up. The All-Star was over, LPL had won, and there was a celebration event. Players logged in to try their luck, and the promotion drove huge engagement. In Jinling's Qixia district, inside NXG Esports Club, Lin Jingyi sat in her office watching the stream as her phone buzzed with messages. Publicity staff urged her to praise every member of the All-Star team on forums, especially praising Pang Ran. She'd ordered emphasis on team play. Jiang Ming's humble, team-first statements in the post-All-Star interview had made the job easier. When public praise poured in, a wise person kept modest and let results speak. After confirming the promotion plan, Lin Jingyi switched devices to handle merchandise and store logistics. The team's commemorative goods would sell out. NXG Team Captain All-Star Commemorative Edition. Put it on sale, she instructed. Don't overstock. If it sells out, say pre-orders are accepted. Okay, Sister Lin, came the reply, and the celebration that had erupted on the stage rippled outward, into social feeds, promotional banners, and merchandise plans, sealing an all-star that would be remembered as much for its spectacle as for the sudden sweeping victory that brought the title home. Chapter 146, Death Sentence Punch Incident. The All-Star event ended on a high note, with Penguin Sports and mainstream outlets like TV5 giving it full promotion. Highlight reels, player interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage kept the country abuzz. The conversation didn't just spike, it developed a long tail. Related topics took up the top 5 spots on social media trending lists. Everyone outside the scene was seriously shaken. How could a game competition draw this much attention? The influence of esports had finally pierced the broader public eye. On the final day of the League of Legends Shanghai All-Stars, mainland China alone had more than 7 million concurrent online viewers. Add in TV audiences, and the total likely exceeded 10 million, not far from the 14.2 million combined TV and online viewers that the NBA Finals had in the same period. As an emerging IP, esports' core audience had reached the same level as traditional sports. The phenomenal reach also proved the consumption power of the post-90s generation. Advertisers noticed. Penguin's stock even ticked up a little. If Penguin was doing that well, one could only imagine the LPL under its management. Soon, businesses clamored for advertising slots in the LPL. In the new era, no one could afford to ignore this young market. Some companies even dove straight into esports. The market was still a pond rather than an ocean, its business model exploratory, and its compatibility with traditional consumer markets still in need of rigorous data testing. But the potential was obvious. As a core figure at the event, Jiang Ming and the NXG team he founded reaped the benefits. Merchandise sales surged both online and offline. The TGA platform began a 24-hour continuous replay of the All-Star schedule. Thanks to his perfect play and professional demeanor, Jiang Ming's popularity jumped. He slowly broke out of the narrow circle of esports insiders and into the public eye. Parents who had once dismissed gaming began to cite Jiang Ming as an example, using his success and the all-star coverage to encourage their children to balance academics and hobbies. On TV5 and in post-match interviews, his image was broadcast as the ideal good kid from another family. On the surface, that attention didn't bring Jiang Ming huge direct earnings, yet. But as esports expanded, the positive public image would help NXG dodge many obstacles down the road. Fame, however, had its downsides. With attention came opportunists and critics. As people dug deeper into the all-star matches and the LPL Dream Team's makeup, Jiang Ming and NXG, whose style differed from the rest of the LPL and the broader league scene, became prime targets. The contrasting displays by veterans like PDD, Wei Xiao, and Ming Kai only magnified the perception. Here was a young man who was simultaneously player, head coach, and club owner, attempting scapegoat for regions that lost. Other regions began to study the LPL, and more specifically, NXG's style. From strong fundamentals and tactical vision to disciplined management, minion wave control, and team coordination whose synergy was off the charts. The teams that had been trounced replayed LPL footage, bypassing geo-restrictions and dissecting every game. OGN, soundly beaten in the finals, even stirred up an anti-China sentiment. The all-star imitation wave had only just begun. Once a few teams adopted NXG-style tactics, the rest of their region would follow to avoid falling behind. And 2 years down the road, before Big Capital fully entered the field, a wave of monstrous teams could emerge. Jiang Ming could only influence so much. After the All-Star, he had a brief discussion with his mentor and the higher-ups about the future of esports, laying out a reasoned vision for a market worth hundreds of billions of yuan. He had built his plan on more than a decade of experience. If he avoided fatal mistakes and kept NXG's momentum, the club could remain a first-tier team, even as more titles, Honor of Kings, PUBG, Dota 2, expanded the market. He got verbal commitments, then headed back to the base. Only 3 left? His first priority back at the base was the youth training program. How well the academy could monetize youth training contracts this season, without counting on wealthy sponsors, would determine their expansion ability for S4 and beyond. Jiang Ming was relieved to learn that, despite the brutal initiation, only 3 recruits had quit, far fewer than the 10 he had expected. Putting aside everything else, the first batch has good willpower, Mo Zi said, handing over the tracking and evaluation data for each player. NXG's youth program had a simple, harsh formula: pressure, pressure, more pressure. Newcomers endured a 3-day extreme test. On day 1, they scrimmaged the first team from morning to night, getting crushed until their heads spun. That evening, they did designated rank training, with heroes chosen to test fundamentals and proficiency. Day 2 featured systematic fundamental drills, 200 timed last hit sets for laners, unconventional jungle route deduction for junglers, and skill release and positioning coordination modules for supports. Mo Zia hadn't set the tasks expecting everyone to pass. By day 3, most rookies' KPI scores fell rather than rose. Those who survived the invisible attrition deserved respect. There was another reason many hung on. Players who reached Diamond or Challenger had usually been through hard conditions already. Parents kicking them out, surviving on instant noodles, enduring whatever it took to play. These players had developed stress resistance. Compared to the threat of starvation or homelessness, NXG's training, with 3 meals a day, was nothing. Also, in an industry still shaping its business model, many players pursued a professional path for more than money. They had the so-called esports dream. That earnestness was why Jiang Ming wanted to expand youth training and take in those with strong fighting spirits. Even imperfect talent was better than those who only chased money and quit at the first loss. "Let's go. Time to see the new recruits," Jiang Ming said after a quick data skim. Numbers were useful, but creativity, vision, and professionalism required watching people in person. Through the training room glass, heated voices cut through the soundproofing. "No, what are you doing? I said I wanted the red first. Wait for me," one shouted. "I did listen. You were too slow. I thought we could fight. Why were you taking jungle camps before a team fight?" "I'm Nocturne. If I don't get red, I don't have a slow. How am I supposed to dive the backline? Are you expecting a 1-3 Vayne to flank? You died because you were greedy for minions in that last fight, so we had to delay the dragon despite our advantage." "I was greedy? I just didn't see Lee Sin in vision, and you think a Diamond 2 jungler like me doesn't understand that? What's wrong with being Diamond 2? My rank is my business. Stop blaming me for overextending when you were the one who fed. You can't even, a noob pointing fingers at teammates." When Jiang Ming and Mo Zia reached the entrance, the argument was in full swing. Mo's face tightened. This was his first time running the youth camp by himself, and already there was a staged meltdown. It looked bad. "Don't rush in," Jiang Ming said, placing a hand on Mo Zia's arm. "Let's watch a little." Through the glass, Jiang Ming recognized the two immediately by appearance and temperament. Mala Xiangguo and Death Announcement. If it was these two, the blow-up didn't surprise him. In the original timeline, Mala Xiangguo was known for an aggressive, unconventional jungling style and for low emotional intelligence, always arguing about in-game choices. Death Announcement was even more notorious, short-tempered, quick to violence, and a heavy hitter who'd gotten into real-world scuffles. This was a recipe for conflict. Just as the argument reached a boiling point, Death Announcement ripped off his headset, rose, and balled his right fist, ready to strike Mala Xiangguo. "Hit him! Hit him!" someone yelled from the room. "I'll cover medical expenses." Jiang Ming's voice cut through the noise from behind the glass, calm and cold. "But if you throw that punch, you're off the team. And you should think about whether someone with a history of assaulting teammates will have a place in the league community afterward." The fist froze midair. A moment of stunned silence followed. "Ming? Mingge?" the other 3 players blurted, recovering and saluting their boss reflexively. Death Announcement stood with his hands suspended, looking at Jiang Ming, guilt and anger warring across his face. After the initial surge of fury ebbed, regret crept in. Jiang Ming glanced at the two in conflict. As he was about to speak, they snapped straightened and fell silent, standing at attention. "Old Mo, handle this," Jiang Ming said. "Okay, I'll take care of it right now," Mo Zia replied. Jiang Ming decided not to micromanage. He wouldn't let his presence undermine the youth camp manager's authority. If the boss had to personally step in for every fight, what was the point of having a manager? 15 and 16-year-old trainees were bound to fight. One with low EQ, another with a hair-trigger temper. It was almost inevitable. Death Announcement's temper came from a troubled past. Early domestic abuse had taught him to solve problems with his fists. His worst incidents had been loud and regrettable rather than truly vicious. Over time, he'd learned control and often regretted his old mistakes. Developing a club's ability to train flawed players was a mark of maturity. Problems arise, you solve them, and you gain experience. With the on-site handling entrusted to Mo Zia, Jiang Ming gave the training room one last look and then turned away. He walked toward the club staff offices in the other building, leaving the small storm behind to be calmed by the man he trusted to lead the academy. It wasn't until Jiang Ming left that the rest of the players, still absorbed in training, finally registered what had happened. Long, brother Long, what's going on? Xiao Duan froze as he pulled off his headphones. His eyes swept the now quiet training room. Some players looked bewildered, a few looked pleased, and a handful of nosy ones were furtively peeking from the corner. The manager's face still held a trace of anger. Zhu Xiaolong shook his head and motioned for Xiao Duan not to interfere. Keep training. Our basic skill tasks for today have to meet the standard. If our base scores get docked again, some of us won't even be able to stay. 2 days in a row of missed KPIs had put a visible pressure on everyone. The invisible weight on each player affected their mood and performance. Those two had probably just lost control of their emotions. All right. Xiao Duan nodded and went back to his seat. You two, come with me. Mo Zai composed himself and spoke quietly to the two culprits standing before him. Then he turned to the rest of the room and asked flatly, "What about the rest of you? Have you finished your tasks?" The trainees who loved watching a scene play out suddenly became statues. Eyes that had been glued to the commotion scattered like startled birds. Some drifted off to the bathroom, others pretended to drink water, and several buried their faces at their monitors, hoping not to draw attention. Mo Zie led with a stern face. Mala Shangguo and Death Announcement followed with their heads bowed. On the youth training base's first floor, there was a small guest room that doubled as a mediation room. That was where the two teenagers, who'd been yelling red-faced and about to come to blows, were taken. They clutched the hems of their shirts like naughty high schoolers dragged into the principal's office. Even Death Announcement's usual flashy hair looked half deflated. At 16 or 17, they really might as well have been high schoolers. Mo Zai's jaw relaxed slightly. There was no point in getting into a shouting match with half-grown kids whose emotional control wasn't mature. NXG's youth trainees were both professional players and reserve talent. The training camp's job was to nurture and evaluate, not to fire people like in a regular company. He still needed to be strict, though. He picked up a brand new NXG trial agreement from the shelf by the door. You all signed this trial agreement. I explained the terms and requirements on day 1. Want me to read it to you again? The two hung their heads, embodying the classic caught by a tutor look. They stood frozen, more attentive now than they'd ever been during training instructions. Do you think this is a school teacher's office? Mo Zi scoffed. Or a safe zone where you can tower dive and counterkill with no consequences? He read their expressions easily and kept his voice cool. I'll speak, and you listen. Whether you answer is up to you. If you don't, how I handle it is up to me. Manager, I messed up. I shouldn't have let my temper get the better of me and fought with a teammate. I was wrong too. I shouldn't have taunted my teammate during the game. Once they realized what he was getting at, Death Announcement and Mala Xiangguo quickly dropped the silence. Punish me however you want. Just don't kick me out. I didn't bring you in here to get confessions. Besides, you're not apologizing because you understand. You're doing it because you're scared. Fear was actually a good sign. It meant they still valued their place here. Mozier didn't lecture them like a parent or a teacher. NXG had contingency plans for the emotional volatility of youth trainees. The pressure training during trials was deliberate to surface issues early. Early detection, early intervention. As a sports management graduate, Mo Zai knew the prevention, intervention, improvement model inside out. These two would get a file, psychological evaluations, archived records, guided mindfulness training, and other preventive measures. Prevention wasn't enough. There would also be a dedicated room for venting, with punching bags, stress balls, and professional supervision to help players work through abnormal emotional spikes. Competitive gaming brings frequent losses and psychological strain. Irritability and short tempers are just the surface. While Mozier handled discipline, Jiang Ming hadn't been idle. He was meeting with the computer prodigy his senior sister had recommended to the club, discussing a mini-program that would use official APIs to pull ranked data from LOL servers, hero win rates, and players' commonly used champions. NXG's strategic edge had already been widely copied. They couldn't stand still. Building a data analysis team was next on the agenda. Player reports would become standard. individual skill analysis, hero pool and strengths, recurring mistakes and risk points, team tactical reports, execution efficiency, and vision data. An analyst team could also study opponents, lane matchups, pick ban phases, tactical tendencies, even in-game heat maps. A mature analytics department could be as valuable as an excellent coach. After the All-Star event, Jiang Ming converted promised LPL support into funding for this work, under Tencent and LPL supervision. The program itself isn't hard, Wang Fei said as he typed notes, but the raw data will need professionals to organize it. Most people without the background would be baffled by it. That's why we asked you to help find friends from the math department who care about esports, Lin Jingyi said from behind Jiang Ming. Fine, you're going to shear the university bald, Wang Fei joked, less stiff than before. Maybe I'm just helping my alma mater's employment rate, Jiang Ming said with a shrug. And make me a little training game for hand speed and mentality, he added. I'll pay market price. A mini-game for hand speed is easy. Something like Toho's bullet hell mechanics for score control would work. For mentality, Lao Jiang, lay out the specifics and I'll build it. Wang Fei's practical mind was already racing with implementation. Have you played I Wanna? Jiang Ming asked. Wang Fei glared mockingly. You questioning my internet expertise? But I Wanna only has 50 levels, probably not enough. Computer Emperor or not, Wang Fei's first worry was always, more levels. Make it 100 levels, ramp up the difficulty progressively. I Wanna is notorious, a series of brutally hard mentality-testing platformers. For most players, it's unbearable. For a trainer trying to harden players' mental resilience, it was perfect. Jiang Ming and Wang Fei hashed out details for over an hour. As evening neared, Jiang Ming turned to Lin Jingyi. Dinner's on me. NXG cafeteria. Lin Jingyi folded her arms and gave him an exasperated look. There are plenty of people who'd love you to treat them, but you, always trying to fob me off with cafeteria food. Are you coming or not? Great housekeeper, Lin. I'm coming. They ended up eating takeout at the office while continuing their planning. The club's investment and expenses were growing fast. Income from 3 online stores barely kept things balanced. JM Food Moment's offline store had healthy daily turnover, but opening a second store too soon would threaten cash flow. You know how it is, Lin Jingyi said, slipping a piece of braised pork into Jiang Ming's bowl. The youth training base, room and board for 20 trainees, and salaries for staff. All of it takes money. If it weren't for the sponsorship millions, we couldn't keep this scale. From an accounting view, NXG was a money pit. But Lin Jingyi also knew this was built on esports traffic, something they couldn't sacrifice. There's no other way. A lot requires upfront investment. If you hesitate, you won't even get a taste of the rewards later. We still need offline stores. We should ride the all-star momentum. If funds are tight, bring in franchisees. The key is to get stores open. Jiang Ming believed the snack brand would become a cash cow in time. Online traffic would help build the brand. But physical stores would accelerate the process. If they couldn't fund everything themselves, franchising could help, though Jiang Ming had a different idea. We don't have to sell franchises. Once a store is open, other schools have already contacted me through their mentors asking to use our brand. That's promising. Jiang Ming explained their plan. They wanted to be the brand owner and an upstream supplier, not simply run restaurants. Quality control is crucial. It's fine to let others use the brand, but products must meet our standards and come from vetted manufacturers. Understood. Lin Jingyi soaked it up. Also, the sponsors, 3 Squirrels and Pam Pam, want to renew early. What do we say? After the All-Star frenzy, the snack makers were both thrilled and anxious. Sponsoring esports paid off, huge exposure and precise audience reach. But their contracts were only for a year. Next season, NXG might demand much higher fees, or might not have available ad slots at all. They were eager to secure the partnership again. Early renewal isn't possible at the current price. Sponsorship costs change each year. We can offer priority clauses since they're key sponsors, but choose words carefully. Lin Jingyi nodded. Jiang Ming added, don't skimp on youth training funds. If a player qualifies, we'll invite them to trials. We'll grow staff and build the training framework. The more people we have, the better. The LPL will soon launch a secondary league. With the traffic from All-Star, many will try esports. Teams will want players. Will they scout from public matches or buy from us? At that point, not only the players but our staff and training system will be valuable assets. Oh, have we registered the 2 teams for the secondary league? Done. We named them after the main team, NXG White and NXG Black. NXG White and NXG Black. Jiang Ming was already thinking like a seller showing off a product. If they tightened belts now to build 2 dominant second-tier teams, potential buyers would be dazzled. He didn't even plan to wait for the secondary league. He intended to cultivate talent directly for the LPL summer split. Imagine it. NXG's main team sweeping 3 rounds of the LPL without defeat, the all-star team producing 3 breakout stars, and now second-tier teams feeding the system. That was how you built a golden brand, produced by NXG and destined to be a masterpiece. Chapter 148, The First Blow from Fist and JM's Aftermath. Just as Jiang Ming was about to shift some of his energy toward developing the second team, Fist, the company that had just given him a promotion ambassador skin at All-Star, delivered its first knife in the back. Riot, League of Legends V3.07 patch update announcement for a more balanced Summoner's Rift. Greetings, Summoners, the All-Star event has finished, and we're excited to see so many new playstyles emerge on the competitive stage. However, some champions have become overly dominant. For the second half of Season 3, we're rolling out a regular patch and medium-scale gameplay adjustments to broaden the competitive pool. These changes will be applied to the official servers at 3 a.m. Beijing time on June 3rd. The highlights are below. Hero balance adjustments, ADC ecosystem restructure. Caitlyn, base attack speed reduced, 0.668, 0.625. Headshot no longer stacks on structures. Ezreal, W attack speed bonus reduced. Misfortune, increased black gunshot stacks to 5, but reduced damage per stack. Varus, hail of arrows base damage reduced, chain of corruption hit detection optimized. Mid-jungle core changes. Diana, Moonsilver blade damage curve adjusted, pale cascade shield weakened but can now stack. Elise, spider form no longer grants bonus resistances, skittering frenzy AP scaling increased. Twisted Fate, Destiny cooldown increased, stack deck attack speed bonus significantly increased. Talon, removed silence on E, replaced with a 99% slow. LeBlanc, removed silence on second cast of Q. Zed, item system updates, tier of the goddess line, base stacking speed doubled, 8 per stack. Manamoon, Archangel's staff also received this buff. Rod of Ages stacking speed increased by 33%. Jungle experience, Lizard Elder Ancient Golem experience reduced. Experience for Stoneman and Wraith increased. Plan to add a small jungle monster before Worlds to balance jungler economy. Designer notes, we believe assassins should have their passive synergies preserved, but removing silence from Talon prevents targets from losing all counterplay. Early jungle buffs gave too much experience, allowing a jungler to reach level 3 while lanes were level 2, which was unhealthy. We've adjusted accordingly. Oracle's elixir changes will be discussed and rolled out gradually. After Fist released the patch notes, regional reactions were mixed. OGN and Western audiences cheered. Many LPL fans were livid. Good. Well-deserved nerfs. Caitlyn pushing down towers in minutes was disgusting. That's championship penalty. All assassins into the sewer. New patch, everyone starts at the same line. We'll take our revenge at Worlds. It feels like the nerf list is written with names on it. Fist, what were you thinking? You nerf right after we win. All the champions JM used got hit. You even removed silences from Talon and LeBlanc. Are you poisoned? I'm crying. They even made Varus weaker through the back door. The promotion ambassador skin was just a consolation prize then. Twisted Fate got nerfed too? I thought I was the one who got stomped. At least Manamoon is stronger. Blue Ezreal and Jace Poke are still playable. Will Jungle XP nerfs wreck NXG's tempo playstyle? Why not nerf Irelia instead? When Jiang Ming read the patch notes, he understood that the storm he'd stirred was now fully formed. How far it would spread through esports and what consequences it would have were unknown, but he didn't flinch. Esports aren't like traditional sports. Adapting to patches and finding new answers is part of the game. While some heroes were nerfed, others were buffed. Ryze benefited from tier, Fizz's E cleared minions better, Jax's passive gave more attack speed, and Nunu, representing the farming jungler, saw a higher chance to appear after the jungle XP reduction. Nerfing mid-assassins could even favor teams that emphasized macro play. Professional teams and players couldn't vent on forums. They had to learn new champions and devise strategies for the next patch. Jiang Ming said in private, "Nerf whatever you want. If I can't keep up, I'll lose, and I'll accept that. But I won't stop adapting." Back at NXG, the 5 starters needed little persuasion. Pang Ran had a brief rest after returning to the team, then resumed full training the next day to prepare for the LPL spring season playoffs. Training matches against the youth academy humbled the rookies and applied pressure to the first team. That pressure translated to a real fear of replacement, magnified by the club's prize structure, which sharply rewarded champions and runners-up. The combination of internal competition and lucrative incentives pushed NXG's starters to grind harder. Practice had to increase. Starting spots and prize money couldn't be surrendered. Because of all-star attention, rival teams were watching NXG closely. Training routines, hero choices, and item builds were studied. 10+ hours a day of grueling practice could be mimicked or envied, but not everyone could endure it. We Club. A training match was underway. "Top, bait them. I'll gank at level 2, one voice pinged. "No need, Ming Kai. Help Wei Xiao or mid instead," Cao Mei said, frowning. After All-Star, Ming Kai's ganking frequency for top lane had spiked. The weird thing was Wei Xiao didn't mind. Just the number of times they pinged mid with question marks surged. Jarvan 4 pinged mid. "Ming Kai, Ruo Feng, hold the wave. Don't let them make the first move." Assassins got nerfed across the board. Junglers don't have much gank potential before level 3, except for a few exceptions. Push, trade health with him. There's nothing you can't beat. If his health is low, we can gank. Wan Mao's coming with me later. Charge, don't be scared. Don't retreat. Calm down, Ming Kai. Fall back a bit. Mid's low on health and needs to recall. If not, just trade objectives. Wei Xiao glanced at Ming Kai across the mid lane and sighed inwardly. It had been 2 days, and Ming Kai still hadn't gotten over the pain of the mid lane change. Wei Xiao himself was fine. Pang Ran's steady professional shot calling made playing comfortable. Wan Mao was all right too. It was Ming Kai, the jungler, who couldn't accept shifting from a partner who reliably won lanes, never fell behind on jungle support, called Divine Macro, and could both attack and defend, to someone who wouldn't carry even with help and would feed without it. Which jungler could accept such disparity? Ming Kai's new intensity had an upside. At least the team had another component that could carry when necessary. If Cao Mei held top, the playoffs were still within reach. PDD at IG was suffering similarly from all-star after effects. "Oh, Shadow, don't stand in my top lane and die. Try other lanes," he barked in a training match. "My top doesn't need ganks," Shadow shot back. "If they focus me, I still pressure them. Coming top's a waste. You gotta have your own gank tempo. And Erzi Guiyan, don't interfere. How the jungle moves is the jungle's business. If you can carry, I'll take tanks. Zac, king of absorbing pressure. I'm the all-star MVP. You pigs, learn from me. A solo lane needs 100 tricks. Kiting, getting kited. This wave is ultimate kiting." After the scrim, Xiao Xiao scolded PDD seriously. "This won't do. Laupu's treating us like all-star pals. He can't compare to Wei Xiao, or Z isn't JM. If PDD doesn't play carries in top, IG might get knocked out first round. And of all draws, we get NXG in the semis," someone muttered. "Great. May 31st, 2013. Charge. Quick. Log in and play one game to get a skin." Across the country, internet cafes were packed for Battle Night. Penguin's promotion after All-Star, plus a double XP, double gold, and free skin draw, sent new player numbers soaring. Cafes plastered walls with league posters. Themed mousepads and pentakill promos brought customers for days. People reserved seats Friday to Sunday, only getting up for food, drinks, and the bathroom. Computers ran non-stop. Sleep, nap on the sofa after an all-nighter, then back to the grind. Carrying the Battle Night surge, the LPL spring season playoffs kicked off in a different timeline. Upper bracket, IG versus NXG. Lower bracket, WE versus PE. The first semifinal, W versus PE, had stirred much speculation. Despite NXG's meteoric rise grabbing attention, Ming Kai and Wei Xiao's all-star performances had salvaged much of Wii's reputation after a rough early season. Forum opinions softened. Maybe PE could take it 2-1. 3 hours later, the result shocked viewers. PE beat WE 2-1. The live stream exploded with disbelief and blame. "This isn't a joke. They're back from All-Star, at least make the finals. Mingkai and Weixiao tried, but their teammates couldn't carry. They had a huge lead in Game 1 and nearly lost. How does mid and bot just implode like that in the next two? You can't push Diana with Diana, and you can't push TF with Diana. My all-star one-shot Diana becomes a dumb brute in your hands. Mid is awful. JM, please come back. Wee's mid lane can't be without you. Wii fans launched a condemnation wave. They won Game 1, then mid disappeared. Game 2, Diana couldn't control Twisted Fate, letting PE's mid roam and snowball bot. Game 3, the criticism demanded Ruo Feng retire. Some viewers turned to PE and noted an uncomfortable truth. PE's style looks familiar. Team coordination, vision control, resource management, NXG's philosophy. They shifted the gank from 4-man on 2 to 3-man on 1, focusing mid instead of bot. Weixiao and Mingkai must feel awful. PE learned things from JM at All-Star, and they have 5 people who can fill in. Shortboard effect. Wii's weaknesses are exposed against a cohesive team. Next up was NXG versus IG, a semifinal with no suspense. Even team owner Wang Sikong only hoped they wouldn't get humiliated. The scoreboard read 2-0. IG showed some improvement, but overall coordination and discipline were lacking. Mid and bot fed heavily, the jungler was invisible, the support wasted an ult at level 6, and PDD's top was the only stable lane. NXG punished mistakes and closed the series cleanly. After the second game, viewers watched PDD's Jace still laning while his bot lane had been dove and killed under the second tower, and a baffling call to trade Dragon for Baron. PDD muttered to himself, "I miss Lao Ming." Back at the NXG base, the Youth Academy watched the semis in a conference room. They'd been given half a day off to see the first team live. Exclamations bubbled up through the group. "So they didn't go all out against us in scrims, huh? It's a pity we didn't make the first team adults pull out everything." Zhu Xiaolong listened to the overconfident chatter and felt speechless. The older players had indeed held back in scrims. In the semis, they displayed the kind of coordination the youths hadn't seen from them. But watching closely, Zhu Xiaolong began to see why the first team trained them so hard. He tried to view the game from the opponent's perspective and realized he couldn't play like that. The level 1 skirmishes, the level 3 and 4 jungle gank combos, small details in solo queue he'd missed suddenly became clear. His own team's top was mechanically solid and better at dodging abilities, keeping health high. That's why repeated gank attempts failed. He started to understand the club's relentless focus on fundamentals. If you didn't have the mental endurance and basic skills, multiple targeted ganks would destroy your farm and morale. To win, first learn to lose, the manager had told them after the pressure training. The lesson echoed in Zhu Xiaolong's mind. Xiao Duan, the support, surveyed everything from top to bottom. The biggest gap he saw was macro understanding. He tended to focus on his lane and missed information from other lanes, failing to react in time. The first team's support constantly pinged and communicated whenever an enemy appeared on the map. Mala Xiangguo envied their communication, execution, and teamwork. His rank stalled around Diamond 2 because his teammates were half a beat too slow during invasions. Mo Zie, sitting in the front row watching the trainees, saw the thoughtful looks on their faces and felt both pained and amused. This was only the beginning of their torment. If pro playstyle were so simple to deconstruct, other clubs wouldn't have been trampled by NXG for so long. March ended. Louching updated 360,000 characters this month. No rest. Work continues next month. Please spare some monthly votes. Chapter 149, Asset Segregation and Jingji Culture. Star Realm Holdings, Jingji Culture, Illusionary Dimension Pan Entertainment. These are the 3 candidate names. Senior Sister, what do you think? In the office, fresh from the LPL semifinals, Jiang Ming didn't rest. He dragged Lin Jingyi into a discussion about separating the club's assets, the online store, and JM Food Moment. "Let's rule out the third one," Lin Jingji said after a moment, drawing a decisive diagonal through Illusionary Dimension Pan Entertainment with a red pen. Jiang Ming raised an eyebrow. "That fast? Why?" "Our foundation is esports," she explained. "And you've said repeatedly that our target is Gen Z, young people. That implies entertainment, social connection, and personalized experiences. Whatever direction we expand in, we need a clear core value first. the club's competitive spirit, the lifestyle value of the snack business, and finally, the cultural media content arm. The third name implies pan-entertainment without that core. Right now, it doesn't fit. He nodded. From the practical side, the third option was mismatched. His intention was to separate the esports club from other and future ventures, consolidating them under a pan-entertainment holding. The online store, JM Food Moment, even NXG Esports Club had all been ad hoc. With the momentum from All-Star, the club had expanded fast. Online and offline revenues were booming. It could no longer operate as a single, personally controlled unit. Asset segregation, clear financial boundaries between him personally and the club had become necessary. At present, Jiang Ming had final say over everything. That worked for now, but as the club grew and more investors came on board, mixing personal brand and club assets would create legal and tax risks. A player's personal brand, handle, image, streaming audience can be ambiguously claimed as the club's work product under certain contracts. In the wider esports world, there were examples: disputes over splitting live stream gift income, sponsorship earnings, and prize money when contract terms were unclear. If he didn't separate his personal activities from club finances, he risked problems in tax filings, investor due diligence, and later ownership conflicts. Would JM's traffic belong to him or to NXG? Would the club claim the commercial value of his audience as intellectual property? Those were questions investors would raise. Star Realm Holdings or Jingji Culture. Pick one. There's not much difference, Lin Jingyi concluded, nudging the decision back to him. Jingji Culture, Jiang Ming said without hesitating. Jinling Jingji Culture Co. Ltd. It made sense to include Jinling. The school had already supported them with people and land. Offering the school some shares would help secure a hometown institutional backer for A-round financing. Public universities can, under specific regulations, use state-owned assets for external investment after approval. This route would make the relationship legitimate and useful. Structurally, Jingji Culture would be the parent company, NXG the subsidiary, like TES Sports and TES Esports Club. The club would take investment, not his cultural company. He worried about future scenarios. Using club sponsorship money to fund other projects had to be avoided. After consulting a teacher-referred professional, he drafted an equity plan modeled roughly on T1's structure from the original timeline: a majority holder controlling the club, a chunk reserved for investors, and a portion for player incentives. Specifically, Jingji Culture would keep more than 51% of NXG to control boards and budgets. About 15% would be set aside for player equity incentives, and the remaining 30% would attract outside investors. Thanks for handling the school side, he said. I'll come with you to discuss the details. Lin Jingyi waved it off. We don't need to make a big show of it between us. For now, the club's priorities, preparing for the spring finals with its $500,000 prize and training academy players for 2 league spots next season, took precedence. Commercial buildup would wait for the organizational foundation. She had done more than talk. She'd done the legwork. Anything else? If not, General Manager Lin, please sign this contract. Jiang Ming pulled a prepared employment contract from the drawer and pushed it across. Jingji Culture Co-Limited Employment Agreement. General Manager, Lin Jingyi read, then glanced down to the share provisions at the bottom. And shares? He grinned. I left you a slice of the pie. A little original stock and some phantom shares. Her face lit up. The smile that came over Lin Jingyi was warm and bright, like bells tinkling in sunlight. She leaned across the table, hands propped on the edge, close enough that the specks of light through the sycamore leaves outside caught on her eyelashes. You're greedy. Cough. What's that mean? He played innocent. You're pretending, or you've come back from All-Star hooked on charm. He stood and gently brushed her bangs aside. The chaotic images in his head were replaced by memories of the past year, every meeting and small kindness. Men can be greedy, he said softly, but if the object is senior sister, having only one isn't impossible. She pretended to scold him, but there was no real reproach. Lin Jingyi already knew everything. She'd simply chosen not to change the professional arrangement until decision points were settled. The registration of Jingji Culture and the details of asset segregation were handled. Zhang Ming would still set up a personal studio to keep his esports player JM identity for at least 2 more years, useful for tax planning and keeping his brand independent of corporate income. The school's involvement might be bureaucratic, but if college leaders like the idea of incubating local talent instead of watching it migrate to Shanghai, they'd likely support it. Beyond the legal structure, they talked strategy. A cultural company could handle program production and event hosting later, but up front, the most immediate, high-return move was a live streaming guild. With NXG's huge esports traffic, they could offer streamers something other guilds couldn't: guaranteed exposure, cross-promotion, and direct pipeline to big events. Platforms were already asking. YY had inquired repeatedly about post-match streams. If the whole team streamed together, or he did solo, platform metrics would spike and the platforms would reward them. With committed traffic, marketing partners would come, revenue would follow, and the guild could offer the usual services: channel operation, content planning, IP incubation, audience management based on proven models. Chihuang's evolution in the original timeline, from a small guild to a cultural company signing big names and acquiring broadcast rights, was a useful blueprint. With 4G pushing streaming growth, the market was still ripe for big gains. The guild was a natural first step, and with the club's resources, attracting talent would be straightforward. A few days later, the youth training camp wrapped its 7-day trial. Wang Wang's face was flat as he read the list. The easy patience he'd had on day one was gone. Those called, "Stay. The club will contact you tonight to sign academy contracts." Top lane, Long, Nexus, Alvin, Silence. Mid, Yu, Free, Xiang, QDD. Jungle, Hero, MLXG, Q1 Inch 1Z1 Seeker, Xuan Pai, Luster. Names not called folded like kites with broken strings, young hopes dashed, expectations falling into silence. Those whose names were read, Zhu Xiaolong, Xiao Duan, MLXG, breathed relief. Passing the youth stage meant survival in the scene. Failing it could mean an early end to a dream. Just as Wang Wang finished and was about to let the remaining players disperse, manager Mo Zie called out, "Zhao Hao, come with me to the office." Chapter 150. Hey someone, close the door. Mo Zie looked over the information in his hand. It was the profile of the player who had tried out at top lane, always getting caught when distracted, lacking the game sense his coaches expected, essentially written off as a useless brick. He already had a pretty good idea why the manager had asked to see him. "You're the king, right?" Mo Zie began. "Your tryout at top lane didn't go well, but our boss thinks you might have potential in mid lane, or maybe even as a coach. Would you be willing to try?" "Ah, really?" Zhao Hao, the king, had only heard the first half of that, and his face fell. He'd been wondering whether he was simply unsuited to esports and whether he should go home to help with his father's pig slaughterhouse. "Don't look so down. If you truly had nothing going for you, I wouldn't be wasting my breath," Mo Zie said. "You're careful, you can process teammates' feedback, and you have a good overall perspective. Your weakness as a top laner is that your mindset is unstable. You hesitate to make decisive calls when it's time to fight. I can't promise how you'll do after switching to mid, but with the right effort, you certainly won't be worse off than you are now." Mo Zie produced a contract. "We've reviewed your file. You're local to Jinling. Your family situation is okay, and your parents aren't strongly opposed to esports. Unlike youths who came from far away, if you want to try changing positions, you can sign here. The NXG Club is willing to train you for at least 3 years. If you love esports but truly can't make it as a player, you can still leave NXG Club and become a professional coach." "Thank you, Mogul." Zhao Hao took the standardized youth training contract in his hand, grateful. He knew that after a failed tryout, the club could easily have kicked him out of the base, but NXG hadn't. NXG routinely offered a development contract to any trainee who showed even a little potential, whether that meant a position change like his or a direct transition from player to assistant coach. It was a development contract, food and accommodation provided, plus a monthly minimum living allowance. He didn't hesitate and signed. Other players who were allowed to stay at NXG received identical youth training contracts. They were given a day to consider, or for minors, to have their guardians sign. The youth training contract was different from an official team contract. It explicitly listed training content, tactical analysis, operational drills, match reviews, game interpretation, and guaranteed the club's obligation to provide those during the contract period. The duration was longer than that of official team members, a minimum of 3 years. Youth trainees were not considered official members until they passed assessments. The club invested in training them so they wouldn't be poached by other teams. Jiang Ming had a strict principle: no loopholes in contract lengths or terms. If a youth trainee passed assessments during the training period and could officially play, their contract would be converted into an official player contract. NXG's official contract had 2 salary tiers: Secondary League and LPL. Youth trainees received 800 yuan per month, Secondary League players 1,800 yuan, and official LPL players 2,800 yuan. The exact figures could be adjusted each season according to the market, and players could apply for changes. At final signing, a few players still opted to quit and leave the base. In their minds, passing the tryout deserved at least a second-team roster spot. A youth training contract didn't fit their idea of talent. NXG didn't stop anyone who wanted to leave. The 7-day tryout hadn't been about fancy tactics. It had been about playing ranked games, practicing fundamentals, and scrimming under pressure to test adaptability and gather baseline records. There were geniuses among them, but without contributing value to the club, NXG had no reason to offer an official player contract. Not charging trainees for their time, unlike some clubs that charged fees, was already generous. In the current esports scene, many teams still had players self-fund their way to competition. Even clubs that did pay had limited budgets for newcomers with no professional experience. That evening, Jiang Ming arrived at the youth training base to meet the trainees formally. The meeting room lights were bright. A group of hopeful young players sat together, eyes full of curiosity. Many had chosen NXG because of Jiang Ming's reputation in the LPL. To be honest, I didn't expect so many people to stick around after 7 days, Jiang Ming said. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jiang Ming, the owner of NXG Electronic Sports Club, head coach of NXG's first team, and the mid-lane player JM. His gaze swept across them. I believe many of you have watched my matches. I also know each of you has a dream: to stand on the biggest stage and shine. But after these few days of basic training, one truth should be clear. Getting on that stage of lights, flowers, and applause is not easy. My first point isn't a joke. Frankly, if 10 of you can ultimately persist in esports, that will be a lot. The glamour you see on stage comes from countless hours and sweat off stage. From the moment you sign, you become part of NXG. The club will do everything to uncover your potential. What you must do is turn every minute into nutrients for growth, constantly improve. It won't take long. The exceptionally talented among you might only need 10 days to half a month to catch up to our level. Join, become, and surpass. For newcomers, a little motivational honesty was powerful. Confusion on their faces cleared, and a thin light appeared in their eyes. But Jiang Ming knew they would need more than encouragement. They needed structure. He read the room and continued. Next, I'll announce the arrangements for selection into our second team and for youth training. NXG has decided to form 2 new teams. Selection will come from this youth camp and future tryouts. The selection period is half a month, from the end of the LPL Spring Finals until the start of the 5th City League Championship. Over the next 2 weeks, the club will give you comprehensive, professional training. How far you go depends entirely on yourselves. Manager Mo, take over the subsequent arrangements. Jiang Ming handed leadership to Mo Zia. In any organization, someone had to be the strict one and someone the approachable one. Jiang Ming, as head coach and owner, naturally wasn't going to be the bad cop. Mo Zia already had a codified, systematic training schedule ready. The trainees were handed an incredibly detailed plan. Basic skills: 1. Champion pool expansion. 2. Custom opponent last hitting drills. 3. Skill dodge training. Advanced combat: 1. Best of 5 scrim practice. 2. Meta and champion counter analysis. 3. Individual performance enhancement. Other: 1. Physical training. 2. Mental conditioning. 3. Professional ethics cultivation. Unlike the tryout's endless ranked games and scrim beatings, the plan specified content, time, and volume, and included assess scores for each item. They were holding the Season 3 revised edition of NXG's plan, a improved by Jiang Ming and refined by Mo Zie, with a few personal additions. For example, the last hitting practice originally had 3 stages. Mo added a normal difficulty, AI last hitting test with the AI fixed to a champion named Doom. The reasoning: on normal, the AI frequently uses abilities to disrupt your rhythm, and Doom's Q is Terrify, which made for good interference training. Passing lines were adjusted. Without interference, the basic pass was 80 minions in 10 minutes. Under normal AI interference, 75 minions passed. Mo color-coded the tasks. Long-term and daily fundamentals, like champion pool expansion and morning last hitting, were red, mandatory. Failed to complete them, and there were consequences. The first offense meant no scrims for a week, the second earned a warning, the third meant pack up and leave. Basic skills are the foundation: last hitting, accuracy, dodging, guarantees for tactical execution under pressure. Emphasizing fundamentals doesn't guarantee someone will become a pro, but someone with poor fundamentals will never be a pro. Tasks like rank score assessments and best-of-5 practice were yellow. There was some room for maneuvering, but if your rank score didn't meet the standard or your scrim performance was poor, you simply wouldn't be selected for the second team. By now, the trainees had adapted to NXG's routine. Seeing the plan's detail, a few quick-witted players realized the unspoken rank requirements during tryouts were actually part of the assessment. During tryouts, administrators occasionally watched first-person perspectives and logged into accounts to check rank records. They didn't set a daily rank quota, but the amount played during designated hours was used to evaluate discipline. Many who were eliminated had histories of slacking. Their training time ranked games were fewer than their entertainment sessions when they were addicted to internet cafes. If you're lazy before you're a starter, what happens when you are? The final addition to the program was professional quality cultivation. Players of different ages would receive cultural lessons of varying intensity. The shock of learning that professional players still had to attend classes, politics, history, media training, was nearly as great as seeing NXG's training schedule. Mental health class? One kid asked. Match etiquette, anti-match fixing videos, interview simulation? Another said. I can accept all that, but politics and history? Someone else groaned. I came to play to escape school. Now I still have classes. Didn't I come for nothing? Mosey pulled out a baseball bat from somewhere and smiled pleasantly. You signed the contract, so no backing out, kids. Wong Wong, close the club gate. Yes, the iron gate. Weld it shut. Relax, we'll take good care of you. Let's enjoy some extra special training. Heh! The trainees laughed nervously. Meanwhile, in the NXG First Team's training room at the main base, Song Yuan and the others were complaining about the competitive calendar. Our all-stars between the regular season and playoffs. We'll have to readapt to the next patch when we return, one player said. That's not the worst. Have you seen the summer schedule? After the regular season, the Season 3 Global Finals are in September, meaning we'll play playoffs and compete for the summer title after coming back from Worlds, Xu Jing complained theatrically. Jiang Ming chuckled. The league's makeshift structure led to oddities. The future would see BO2s, tied matches, and teams sometimes playing 2 BO5s in one day. But that wasn't the point now. Tactical focus was. Caitlyn got nerfed, Varus had his ultimate adjusted, so PE team's bottom lane will probably pick Varus more, Jiang Ming said. Their Ezreal pick rate is low. With Thresh banned, Pang Pang should practice Blitzcrank. No problem, Mingji. When I paired with Wei Xiao at All-Star, he shared a lot about Blitz synergy, Pang Ran said, making the others both envious and amused. How is it to go bottom with Wei Xiao, Pang Pang? Xiao Wu teased. Pang Ran glanced at the AD who was pretending to be indifferent, but was clearly listening, then smiled. Hard to say on mechanics, but in synergy and execution, old Xu is definitely stronger. Su Jing huffed. Jiang Ming tapped Song Yuan with his notebook to bring him back to focus and turned to Xiao Shito. After the jungle revamp, what are your thoughts? He preferred to guide and supplement players' thinking, trying to draw out their potential. Xiao Shito, Shi Zhenyu, explained, experience from buffs has been nerfed, so red-blue starts into level 3 ganks will be limited. In this patch, planning jungle routes and prioritizing farming are key. If Stone Man or F4 invade, the jungle level gap gets too big and you can collapse early. Of course, as long as Oracle's elixir exists, a few jungle champions will remain dominant. That item's snowball is too strong. Some farming junglers struggle while it's in play. I think the next change should be to remove Oracle's elixir entirely. During the regular season, teams had tried using farming junglers to counter NXG. The problem was that if they fell behind, the enemy's double Oracle elixir destroyed vision, and a farming jungler who can't enter their jungle can't farm. Jungle confrontation in the finals would be a key point. Both PE team's jungler Jing and Xiao Shito were comfortable on champions like Lee Sin and Jarvan, strong picks for the current patch. Jungle pathing? Xu Jing joked. Xiao Shito, Mingay made you drill that. It's stable now, right? Shi Zhenyu shook his head. You can't say that. Jungle pathing differs every game. PE's jungler loves invading. If I stick to a fixed farming route, someone who invades that often will crush me. Starve strategy, Pangran supplied. Mingay said that style's called the starvation style. It counters our regular style pretty well. There's a kid with that playstyle in our youth camp, someone added. Is his name Liu Xiu? MLXG? Another guessed. Yes, the name sounds like Mala Xiangguo, someone joked. But compared to PE's jungler, his experience is weak. He often goes in blindly. MLXG wasn't the first to try starvation-style jungling in the LPL. PE team's jungler Jing had been the first to popularize it. Zhang Ming reminded them, starvation-style junglers depend heavily on their teammates. If teammates fail to provide timely help or coordination, the starvation collapses the team's rhythm. Today's debrief will focus on the 4 players on PE team besides their jungler. Learn their habits and give Xiao Shito timely feedback. Zhang Ming moved to the tactical board and covered Summoner's Rift, positioning, vision placement, teamfight pre-positioning. PE team has only scratched the surface of minion wave understanding. We can use that along with vision to set traps. Understanding minion waves in theory and knowing how to use them in practice are 2 different things. The outside world assumed NXG's tactical understanding was advanced and that closing the gap meant learning basic wave control. But Zhang Ming's team was operating on a much deeper level. Years of hands-on experience in wave manipulation couldn't be matched by a quick tutorial. The real challenge was whole team coordination, lanes and jungle using 3 lane waves together, champion targeting, player habit study, vision targeting, and minion wave traps. That mechanics combo was NXG's plan to outplay PE team, since they couldn't immediately boost raw mechanical stats. Even if both sides reached parity in fundamentals, NXG's operational rhythm, team coordination, and real-time reaction, powered by efficient in-game communication, were decisive advantages. When champions and mechanics are similar and reaction times converge, the final determinant of victory will be something beyond muscle memory. Human judgment and wisdom, the ability to think and decide under pressure. Zhang Ming's training plan was designed to cultivate precisely that, turning raw players into a team that could outthink opponents when it mattered most. Chapter 151, Brainless and Unhappy Ring. Ring, ring. It was 10 a.m., and Li Weijun's alarm on the bedside table blasted the familiar sound. Ah! He instinctively lifted his right hand to smack the little electronic device that had cost him 50 silver, but reliably woke him every day. His hand froze midair. He forced himself to pull back, and with a face full of sulky resentment, swung his legs off the bed. Don't hit it. Don't hit it. Emotions are signals, not enemies. Emotions are signals, not enemies. He repeated under his breath, the mantra their psychologist had drilled into them. He hadn't overslept or partied last night. He'd been training until nearly 3 a.m. This was his job. The club paid him. He wasn't some kid squandering time on games. Dad won't hit you without reason anymore, he thought, glancing over at Xiao Duan and Long, still asleep in the next bed. Quietly, he padded to the washroom and stared at his reflection. How do I reset again? Oh yeah, breathing. He tried the breathing exercise teacher Lee had taught them. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold 6 to 7, exhale for 8. Repeat 3 times, then tense his body from toes to scalp. Tensing his toes was easy. What did tensing the scalp even mean? Frown harder? Despite faking it, he could feel the flare of irritation from waking up early slowly ease. His heartbeat was calmer than when he'd first gotten up. So it wasn't a fluke. This actually works, he told himself. After washing, he left the dorm. Before he closed the door, he pinched his hand, turning what should have been a forceful slam into a gentle pull and a slow release. "You're here?" Mosey's expression was no longer the stern one from their earlier training room clash. A faint smile softened his face. "Manager, Teacher Lee, she's not coming in today?" "Teacher Lee has a public lecture. She asked me to oversee your training while she's out." "You did well these past 2 days," Mosiah said, almost to himself. By the way, Teacher Lee rarely praises anyone. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thick player file with Lee Wei-jin's ID on it. "Tell me about last night's outburst. When it happened, what triggered it, how your body reacted, and how you coped." Lee Wei-jin answered calmly. "Around 11 p.m., Moon and I were duo queuing. In a team fight, he insisted on diving the backline and got himself killed by an assassin. I got ambushed and died too, and we lost a fight we could have won. I'd warned him before the fight, but he didn't listen. I kept reminding him and he was stubborn. I was so angry, I felt like my whole body was on fire and my chest got tight. I almost lost it." "And your reaction?" "You mean, did I throw a punch?" "No." He waved a hand. "Check the surveillance if you want. I didn't. When I felt myself about to lose control, I ran outside the base and used Teacher Lee's method until I calmed down. 3 minutes. You controlled it well." Mosiah made a note in the file. "If it wasn't your fault, once you calm down, you should go to the assistant coach in the training room and resolve it. After a game, we expect players, especially bottom laners like you, to clear up disputes immediately. If there's a problem, solve it. If there's conflict, resolve it. Your teammates, partners, not enemies." "Okay, coach." "Also, death announcement," Mosiah said, using Lee Wei-jin's in-game name. "I don't care what your background is or how you learned to react with your fists. One thing to remember, in the adult world, rules matter. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. You don't need to argue with everyone or prove something with your fists. Rules are everything. Someone else breaking a rule is one thing. You responding with violence is another. If you cross the line, society won't handle it the way school or home do. It'll be direct, and sometimes if you stay inside the rules, life gets a lot easier." Lee Wei-jin nodded, listening intently, even if he didn't fully grasp every word. Mosiah waved him off. "Go eat. Don't overeat. Don't skip. Eat small, often. You can exercise later, but don't overdo the weights. And whatever you do, don't cut carbs. Low carbs will make you irritable. Oh, and before morning exercises, help me water the potted plants around the club and the training room. While you're at it, change the litter for the cats, Milkshake and Lucky." Milkshake and Lucky were Teacher Lee's mascots. The NXG Youth Training Camp was set up in a building the Cognitive Science Institute had been preparing to renovate for adolescent psychology research. Because pro players are so young and many dropped out of school, someone had the idea to use that building temporarily as a youth training base. The institute even sent Professor Lee as a psychological consultant who'd arranged therapy and courses. The base looked nicer than the main one, an indoor and outdoor green layout designed to help young players' mental and physical well-being. In high-traffic areas like the training room and activity hall, themed potted plants had been arranged. 2 students had donated the cats, Milkshake, a golden-shaded cat, and Lucky, a rag doll. The players instantly adored them. The trick was simple: complete tasks to earn cat food or dried fish. And for a group of game-obsessed teens with little parental presence, the cats became a major source of comfort. "Me?" Lee Wei-jin pointed at himself, incredulous. "I can water plants, but can't someone else clean the litter and scoop the poop? They're clingy. They'll latch onto my legs and it's a mess." Mosiah pretended to be helpless. Lee Wei-jin imagined accidentally hurting the little cats and getting the entire camp furious at him. He relented. "Fine, I'll do it." Watching Death Announcement leave with a mock heroic sigh, Mosiah couldn't help laughing a few minutes later. The sight of a burly Northeast man forced to deal with 2 clingy cats was too funny. A knock at the office door brought him back to work. He composed himself and called, "Come in." "Coach," Mala Xiangguo shuffled in, thin with black-rimmed glasses and a nervous gait. "You checked the tasks I gave you yesterday, right?" I've pretty much memorized them." "Pretty much?" No, I remember all of them. I was just habituated to saying that." Mosiah smiled and tapped the desk. "That's the habit you need to fix. All right, follow my instructions. I'll ask and you'll answer. How would you politely say, you're useless? You can practice more and get more familiar with it. What kind of answer is that? I think we can try another approach. One stood, one sat, one asked, one answered. It would have been surprising if not for the fact they were in a team where communication skills were being trained as seriously as mechanics. The incident between Mala Xiangguo and Death Announcement, verbal abuse and a brief scuffle, hadn't been handled by punishing Li alone. Mala Xiangguo was being corrected too. The club's approach for these two, nicknamed No Brain and Unhappy, was to use psychology and structured pressure, cognitive restructuring for Li, and communication training and study pressure for Mala Xiangguo. Many players simply didn't realize how blunt or abrasive they sounded. So during training matches, Mala's role was deliberately reversed. After each game, during reviews, Mosier would single him out and fire off mock criticisms, without a single curse, but sharp enough to sting. Your jungle pathing looks like it was planned by constellations. Go east, then west, you're time-traveling in the canyon. Invading again? Are you running community outreach, handing out warmth? F4 says it's lost. Do you want to buy a GPS for them? Your gank routes are more twisted than a mystery novel. Stop invading. The enemy jungler's already applied to be your apprentice to learn counter-invading. Zhang Ming, watching, noted how Mo could roast someone for half an hour in dozens of clever lines without swearing. In the evenings, Mo made Ma practice polite alternatives in front of a mirror, record them, and be quizzed the next day. Observation: you should have supported in that team fight just now. Feeling: I'm worried this pace might slow if we play like this. Need: can we communicate positions more quickly next time? 10 minutes of drills and Ma would pass, exhausted but improved. Meanwhile, the rest of the youth training players followed the schedule to the letter. Wake, wash, breakfast, and then gather in the open space to wait for the health manager to lead morning exercises. Morning! Morning! Did you finish your KPIs yesterday? Barely. I fixed review issues at the last second. I got 2 points deducted again. They'll drop you next week. 2 guys from the next 2 dorms quit today. They played ranked until they puked. These were some of the rare unstructured moments for the kids. The old adrenaline of solo queue thrill had been replaced by talk of deductions, performance, and turnover. League of Legends here wasn't just a game, it was work. Come on, focus on your breathing. 2, 2, 3, 4, follow my movements. Zhao Yang led the exercises. Death Announcement, having finished watering and feeding the cats, and Mala Xiangguo, having finished his recitation with the manager, returned to the group at the same time, very coincidentally. Their gazes met. Old tensions simmered under the surface. The club had temporarily diffused the conflict, but both of them still felt like their rivalry was unresolved. The taunts and unspoken grudges didn't vanish overnight. Yet despite the drama, their raw talent was undeniable. The basic mechanics others struggled with were, for them, warm-up games. At 2:30 p.m., before a full day of drill, review, and scrim, White Crescent, the first team's assistant coach, visited the youth camp to give a lecture. You might have wondered why NXG so often wins even when teams pick the same champions, have similar operations, and both handle vision properly, he said. That has to do with the concept of phase. Today we talk about phase. He paused. Question: after our first tower falls, what counts as an effective phase choice afterward? Swap the duo around? Zhao Hao, who had switched from top to mid, raised his hand and answered. White Crescent nodded and encouraged him to continue. Watching first-team replays, I noticed that once the bottom tower falls, team fights and engagements tend to center on the bottom area. If you can't free the bottom lane, the early laning phase is basically over. He'd checked about 20 replays in 2 weeks, far more than anyone expected. The others in the room looked at him. A quiet study habit lurker had been found. Zhao Hao explained that the first tower falling usually meant the end of laning, and it mattered which first tower. It had to be the bottom lane tower. Bottom has the dragon, top doesn't. If the bottom tower drops and the AD carry or support are left exposed, the AD carry gets camped and falls behind in items and levels. In high elo play, after the bottom first tower falls, both teams commonly swap lanes. If the duo lanes don't swap promptly, and the AD carry stays bottom to farm, the game's result is probably set. White Crescent took the idea and expanded on it, summarizing what he'd learned working with Jiang Ming and the first team. If a first tower is destroyed, the laning phase ends. Where should the duo swap, to mid or top? It depends on map resources. If the dragon hasn't been taken before the first tower falls, dragon becomes the next key objective, so the duo should swap to mid to contest it. If the dragon is already taken and your duo is tempo-oriented, prioritize swapping top. Let the top laner freeze and push. A favorable wave is like having another roaming jungler. He described an example. In one match, Mingay chose to swap top and bottom. The enemy duo tried to force the first tower for an economy trade, but our top laner and jungler smelled blood and collapsed on them. The duo lost 2 kills. Top got suppressed and couldn't develop. The tempo collapsed. After the duo died and dragon fell, the enemy jungler shifted top to protect their top laner. Jiang Ming then had our duo rotate mid and dive, and the mid tower fell. White Crescent tapped the map and circled 2 big zones with a red pen. Mid tower is gone. The players leaned forward, attentive. Understanding phase wasn't about a single brilliant play. It was about knowing how every tower, objective, and rotation changed the map's rhythm and who could force fights. The lecture ended with a silence full of calculation. Another kind of training had just begun. Chapter 152. Everyone is a tryhard. Look closely. With the mid lane first tower as the center, vision from F4, the 3 wolves, even the red and blue buffs to both sides of the river, is instantly cut by more than half. That's almost a third of their safe area gone. No wonder. The youth trainees, who had been hammered by NXG's first team many times, suddenly understood. So the mid tower is the most important tower in League. From that view, it's not hard to see why Mingay said mid is the strategic center of the map. When mid falls, the jungle is exposed. Once the jungle is compromised, the minion waves on top and bottom can never push reliably. Under constant minion pressure, the enemy team will always be playing catch-up, eating dust. Let's play a scrim first, then we'll analyze specifics. Instead of the expected long lecture or everyone instantly grasping everything, the trainees learned something different. The skills of pros are built on massive hours of practice. Beyond natural talent, in a game measured in milliseconds, if your reaction is even half a second slower, the ripple effects for the whole team can be enormous. Zhu Xiaolong got lucky. He was again picked to scrim the first team. The rest stayed back to watch. Having guidance made a world of difference. In the scrim, their bot lane was taken down by Sari and Dor at the first tower at 7 minutes. Zhu Xiaolong and his duo swapped lanes, while the enemy took the small dragon, using the timing to chunk significant health off the top lane first tower. Previously, he would have stalled farming in bot, while top was being creamed by the enemy D in support, and then the bot was dove as soon as their support left. This time, the swap stopped the bleeding, though it couldn't erase the economic loss from the bot tower and the dragon. Under that deficit, the early swap to top was only a small damage control. Song Yuan, who rotated bottom afterward, reinforced what White Crescent had pointed out: minion wave control after losing a defensive tower. With bot lacking a tower and NXG in control, top can push a wave and follow the jungler to make plays. Jungle invades on the bottom half, occasional 3-man roams to mid, or using vision to gank and steal jungle farm. Economic leads turn into item leads, which lead to advantageous health trades, more people fighting fewer people to take summoner spells, and so on. Once there's a clear item gap, unless you can outplay with pure mechanics, you're going to get collapsed and punished. That's also why Jiang Ming had kept stressing to NXG that in S3, where stats were bloated, individual mechanical gods could sometimes defy fate, but you still needed macro insurance. The heavy nerfs to mid-assassins that Fist applied had paradoxically given NXG an insurance policy for their S3 run. Their wins never hinged on one-man lane breakouts. Given Fist's size, their strategy of funneling resources into a few overpowered solo stars was already working, without Jiang Ming constantly pointing out jungle economy, oracle elixir timing, and weak early towers. Fist would have taken a long time to understand those broader issues. Lost. GG. As if conditioned by repeated beatings, the 5-man youth squad typed their resignation as the Nexus fell and instantly left. Today had been decent. They were able to hold until Baron spawned. The NXG5 had relied on vision, ganks, and picks to secure the win. Kill count didn't even hit double digits, but they did see Baron spawn, a huge improvement. Zhu Xiaolong and 4 teammates were subbed out, and Ma La Xiangguo, Death Announcement, Nexus, Zhao Hao, and a few others went in. The result was the same, but thanks to Ma La Xiangguo's reckless split push, in the first wave of lane swaps, the trainees managed to trade for NXG First Team's top lane first tower. Watching from the observer's view, the trainees gained a better grasp of how mid-game macro rhythm changes when the first contact happens. Clap, clap. You all understood well. Let me summarize. First, when the bottom tower falls, that usually signals the end of laning phase and the start of lane swap macro. How a team handles this stage often decides how strong they really are. The bigger the gap, the easier the economic disparity widens here. Second, key principles for AD lane swapping, whether there's tower protection, whether the lane is safe, and whether there are neutral resources to contest. And the top and mid lanes you swap to must also be considered. Can your crucial champions help contest those objectives when needed? Execution can be trained, but controlling macro rhythm puts huge demands on mid, jungle, and support players. You need experience to build judgment. From an observer's top-down view, anyone can offer advice, but once you're in the game with limited information, many people need time just to process and make decisions, let alone command the team. Youngsters, you still have a long way to go. White Crescent looked at the rookies, much younger than him, and silently wished them well. Team training continued until 8 p.m. There was a 2-hour break for dinner and rest from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That time was free, as long as you weren't late. After 8 p.m., the 2 hours were mandatory intensive training for the youth squad. Lateness meant forfeiting your slot since assistant coaches were limited. Intensive training included team scrims, individual drills, and combined practice scenarios, duo versus solo interference, mid-play jungle, top jungle, and 3-person linkage drills with mid-jungle support. Coaches set up scenarios. It was short, sharp, and very specific. Individual intensive training was the trainees' favorite part, visible progress. Tonight, Zhu Xiaolong had individual work. Wang stood by with a notebook, reminding him, main focus, top lane kiting. Also get your no-minion movement in top lane into muscle memory. That way, against strong top laners, you can think like them and endure pressure even when there's an extra jungler. In this drill, your weapon facing Darius. Can you get level 2 first from level 1? Zhu Xiaolong nodded. No problem, Wang Ge. Wang fell silent and watched. Weapon versus Darius, push at level 1. But Darius often takes Q at level 1, so getting level 2 while applying pressure with E is the key. High elo players know the basic rule. Solo champions hit level 2 after 7 minions, 2 waves. NXG's top training had a trick. You don't need to kill every minion in a full wave. Kill 1 extra melee when the second wave arrives, since melee minions grant more experience and bump you to level 2 earlier. Weapon's passive gave him attack speed, so Zhu Xiaolong cleared fast and reached level 2 first. Start with an auto, bait Darius back, angle back for another auto to bait Q, then Q auto for damage. Pop E for counterstrike, and then back off. Don't be greedy. The plan played out on screen. That really works, Wang praised Zhu Xiaolong's kiting. During tryouts, he'd reviewed the players' ranked games and found a varied style. Aggressive in favorable matchups, stable as a tank when he needed to be, able to both bully lane and soak for teammates. The only drawback, a bit lacking in assertiveness. Wang thought of his boss's comments and of PDD at All-Star. A top laner who can't be assertive won't reach the top. As Zhu Xiaolong's assistant coach for the drill, Wang spoke when a situation presented itself. Darius took W at level 2. Stack the wave and dive him. A tower dive? Wait for the third wave. You can dive. Mechanically, the trainees weren't as naturally gifted as some prodigies, but no one beat NXG's coaches at minion control and top-down judgment. Good. Zhu Xiaolong stopped bargaining and focused. After baiting out a missed Darius Q with constant kiting, he Q-autoed Darius, stacked E damage for a trade inside the minion wave while clearing minions. Slow push the wave, wait for E cooldown, start with AE to dodge Darius's W. In his mind, the actions synced with the screen, and his hands did the rest. Nice. Darius feigned forward to bait weapon out of tower, then tried to retreat with the quickness. Weapon followed, using the quickness himself, ignite, and W damage to finish Darius before he could hit level 3. "See, you totally can do it," Wang Wang said as he removed Zhu Xiaolong's headphones. "You just need confidence. Even if you traded deaths under the tower, you'd still be ahead. First blood gold, plus a huge minion wave under tower, and Darius can't farm. His lane is ruined." Sure enough, after the dive, all the minions were eaten by the tower. Even with a jungler coming to help, they'd only get a few ranged minions. Darius's lane fell apart. After buying a Doran's Blade and facing a slow push wave, Zhu Xiaolong called his jungler for another top jungler gank. Darius missed 2 minions, was forced back to Fountain again, and then disconnected. Zhu Xiaolong's eyes lit up. He remembered laning against NXG's top, Norsha. Out of 4 or 5 matches, maybe only 1 lane went his way, and that was because the opponent had picked an uncontested champion. His mechanics weren't that bad. It was the constant kiting and tower dives that left him low or dead. Sometimes you'd be forced to wait until level 6 against a level 2 or 3 opponent. Compared to before, wasn't this growth? The path of pro esports was brutal. Zhu Xiaolong had prepared mentally, but a visible progress bar would have made the pressure easier to bear. The NXG system of splitting second teams into black and white squads was public knowledge in the training camp. Unused jerseys hung by the training room door on day 2, and KPI sheets were posted at each player's station. With more hopefuls than slots, if you wanted to stand out and make the club's second team, you had to put in the work. Individual training ran from 8 to 10 p.m., followed by 30 minutes of scrim review, then free training time. Club rules forbade returning to the dorm before 2 a.m., but they didn't mandate how many ranked games to play. Yet from tryout history, people who didn't log enough ranked games were dropped. So everyone stayed in the training room, queuing games. Lights out at 2 a.m. on day 1, 2:30 a.m. on day 2. On day 3, the room still hummed at 3 a.m. "Damn, I'm done. I can't keep up with you tryhards." At 3 a.m., rubbing his burning eyes, one trainee with panda-ringed eyes stood and the rest of the chairs clattered like dominoes. You, glasses fogged, looked ready to collapse. "So you were all just holding on the whole time?" "It's just, seeing none of you leave made me nervous," Support Moon said with a wry smile. When it comes to internal competition, a willful Chinese trait reared its head. If someone stays until 2 a.m., someone else stays until 2:30. If someone stays until 2:30, everyone grinds to 3 a.m. "Okay, brothers, get some rest. We continue tomorrow." "Agreed," came the chorus. "Deal. Whoever secretly tries harder is a dog." "Deal. Oh, Ahong, one favor. Tonight, tie Zhao Hao to your bed so he can't secretly review videos." Time passed. As the number of people in the youth camp slowly thinned, the persistent rookies kept transforming under NXG's relentless cultivation. As selections for NXG-B and NXG-W neared, the first team was heading toward the LPL Spring Finals. The training never stopped. Chapter 153. The LPL Spring Finals are here. It was 9:30 a.m. exactly when Pang Ran opened his eyes. Sunlight filtered through the lattice of the window, and he stretched. Ah, morning. After the All-Star event, Ming Gay and NXG had become a lot more famous in the LOL scene. More teams wanted to scrim them, so a big part of their daily training no longer came from endless ranked games. Ranked now served mainly to expand champion pools, practice specific strategies, and keep mechanical feels sharp. With that change, their nightly grind moved up by about an hour. Lights out no longer at 3 in the morning, but at 2. Sleeping earlier meant waking earlier, and although their schedule had shifted, it didn't mean the 5-man NXG roster was doing less. If anything, their training had become more intense and varied, ranked matches, plus a steady stream of scrims against teams from OGN, North America's LCS.NA, and more. They could cycle opponents every day without repeating the same team twice. After each scrim, there was a short review for a single game and a long, in-depth review for a BO5. The teams they faced in scrims were serious, maybe too eager to learn from NXG, so the training effect was far stronger than before. The most amusing part was the OGN teams. Even though their region had been beaten, they still sent over a dozen squads to take turns scrimming. Quantity had dropped, but quality had gone up a whole level. At first, the earlier bedtime took some getting used to. Pangran and the others would lie awake for an hour or two, staring up at the ceiling until sleep finally came. But as everyone adjusted, they felt markedly better in the mornings, so the whole team gradually adapted. In the mess hall today, we've got lamb vermicelli, Ming Gay's hometown specialty. Hurry up, or I'll eat it all myself. Shujing spammed the Team QQ group, which had been renamed Champions Growth Diary. He always woke earlier than everyone else and seemed to have energy to spare. Pangran smiled and shook his head. Some people were just born that way, cheerful and shamelessly showy at dawn. He hoped that this particular show-off wouldn't later latch onto a wealthy benefactor. Thinking that, Pangran sped through washing his hair. NXG's cafeteria was well known for a reason. Aunt Deng cooked like a champion, and the kitchen constantly refreshed the menu. Special meals, like today's Black Mountain Lamb, appeared before big matches or important tournaments, carefully arranged by Ming Gay. Downstairs in the mess hall, Pangran found Song Yuan, Xiao Shito, and Xiao Wu already at the table. Shujing's bowl was piled high with lamb slices. Eat, 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 devour it, I don't care, Shujing said, riffling through everyone's bowls. Authentic Black Mountain lamb, and Aunt Deng started simmering the broth last afternoon. Smells amazing. He reached for Xiao Shito's meat, then remembered the finals were approaching. If he took the jungler's resources, would Xiao Shito get stingy with ganks in the bottom lane? So he redirected his chopsticks toward Xiao Wu's bowl instead. Back off, always bullying Xiao Wu, Song Yuan said, using his top lane seniority to kick the hungry AD back into his place. He slurped the noodles contentedly. Hiss, so good. I've decided, Song Yuan announced suddenly. When I retire, I'm opening a lamb vermicelli shop. Do you have the money? Shujing asked. Yes. I hardly spend my monthly wage, plus the streaming bonuses. My parents don't want the money. I've been saving. Besides, we made the finals. Being runner-up still pays 250,000. Xiao Shito, who always had a sharp head for numbers, corrected him. Runner-up gets 30 cent. That's about 70,000 each, so each of us gets over 10,000. Brothers, we have to win the championship. 500,000, all of it. Shujing crowed. NXG had a tiered bonus system. Third place got 20% of the prize pool, runner-up 30%, and the champion 60%. With the LPL spring season first place prize at 500,000, 60% of that was 300,000. The coach, Jiang Ming, didn't take part in the split, so the 5 players would each get 60,000 if they won. 60,000 plus a monthly base could mean making the kind of money no one in their neighborhood had expected. Base salaries had been updated after the semifinals, and if they clinched the title, everyone's base pay would be raised to at least 5,000. And that was just for the spring season. The summer season and the World Championship were still ahead. The S3 World Championship first prize was $1 million, roughly 8 million RMB in total, which could translate into enormous individual gains with sponsorships and team operations. A single highlight play in a decisive game could vault a rookie into superstardom overnight. The legendary Double Z battle and the rise of the rookie Shaoli Z were classic examples. With professional packaging and media exposure, a player who had been scraping by on a low salary could instantly find himself worth tens of millions. The conversation fizzed with excitement and daydreams. The finals were right around the corner, and the whole team felt it. The pressure, the possibility, and the electric chance at making themselves and NXG into something much bigger than any of them had imagined. Chapter 154, 3-0, Off Work Like Lightning? Suzhou, Taikang District. As the crowd of League of Legends fans swelled, the LPL Spring Finals venue, long derided as little more than a warehouse, had become a hive of activity. A university student known online as Xiao V shouldered 2 large bags and stood in the shade, pulling out her phone to bombard the members of her prearranged viewing group with messages. Where are you guys? I'm already at the entrance. Ayuyuge, Ocean, Shizaki. You're not going to stand me up, right? Behind you. Ayuyuge, a broad-shouldered young man, rubbed his head and lingered 4 or 5 steps behind her. He'd sent the message first to avoid any awkward mix-ups. Xiao V turned and immediately saw his sturdy figure near the entrance aisle, draped in NXG's blue and white flag. Tsk, Ayuyuge? She teased. So you actually live up to your name. With that build, I bet you rush Randuin's Omen every game. He shot back. A softer voice chimed in behind them, introducing herself before Xiaovi could. I'm Shizaki from the fan group. Bumpkin, Ayuga pouted. Who builds Randuins on Ayugi? I always go Black Cleaver and Sunfire Cape, all right? By the way, which section are you all in? I'm in Section A, second row, seat 23. I'm in Section B, fourth row, seat 11. Oh, Shizaki, I'm with you. Section B, fourth row, seat 12. Did we all buy tickets at the same time? Someone joked. Is it normal our seats are so close? Hey, stop bickering and help me hand out the support items. Xiao Vi, with twin pigtails bobbing, thrust the bags forward and grabbed their sleeves, pointing at the small flags and other freebies inside. She'd accumulated the promotional merchandise from shopping at JM Online Store over the past 6 months and decided to bring them to the finals to hand out. Ayuyuge's arms went weak at the sight of the thick stack. This wasn't just about Xiao Vi being well off anymore. Are you sure we can finish giving these out before going in? He asked. Probably. Should be. Haha, I'm not sure either. Xiao Vi grinned. It turned out to be fine. Back when the LPL was just getting started, organizers had to hire students to hand out freebies. Now NXG was one of the hottest teams in the league. Easily 90% of the crowd had come to see them. Vendors outside the arena were reselling NXG merch at a premium. So when word spread that Xiao Vi and her friends were handing out free banners and stickers, people gathered. Some took items for themselves and then helped distribute the rest. The 2 bags emptied quickly, and many of the spectators clustered around the trio, chatting. The live broadcast director caught the scene on camera and put it into the stream. The 2013 LPL Spring Finals opened without much ceremony. Back then, a modest highlight reel, a few clips of fans queuing, and a student dance or two were already considered a big deal. The big screen cycled through highlights from the split, then the camera panned down to the desk where Wawa, Miller, and Xiao Kang sat. All right, viewers. Welcome to our live broadcast of the 2013 LPL Spring Grand Finals, Wawa said, a little hoarse from splitting his time between commentary and hosting. Let's give a round of applause and welcome today's 2 finalist teams. First up, after defeating the IPL 5 champions and the legendary S2 Team W in the semifinals, Positive Energy. PE's 5 players, in white t-shirts, stood on the right side of the stage smiling for the cameras. Top, Aluka, Jungler, Jing, Mid, Van, AD, Neme, support Sika. The phrase, Esports athlete demeanor, had come into vogue after NXG's meteoric rise. Teams were rebranding to copy NXG's image. PE, however, were still loud and scrappy, once fined after a heated exchange against Royal Never Give Up, and the demeanor thing didn't quite fit them. Next, let's welcome Nexus Vanguard, the host continued. NXG took the stage, Song Yuan strolled out front, and then Jiang Ming, suit-clad, led his teammates, waving as the venue erupted. Fans in the stands and the stream chanted in unison, NXG, XG, NXG. Jiang Ming had planned theatrical entrances, but he decided against them. Stunts like team corny routines were better saved for Worlds. Today, he preferred to keep it simple. After the perfunctory introductions and the mildly awkward host banter, the finals proceeded to the draft. Inside PE's camp, the players traded nervous chatter. Guys, I'm a little nervous. What should I do? Aluka admitted. Don't get all self-centered. Who isn't nervous facing NXG? Jingge replied. It's fine, we made the finals. Back when NXG crushed us in the server dominance tournament, my Dao heart wasn't broken. This is just a drizzle, Sika said, laughing. Name added, we made the finals. 250K is ours. That's already a win. Come on, the prize for first is double, someone pointed out. Whether first or second, our cut is about the same. The boss, another started. Cough, cuff, Sheikah cut in, steering them back to the draft. We're on blue side for game 1. Thoughts? Ban Jace, his poke and split push are too strong. Ban Thresh, for the third Kha'Zix, sounds good. On both sides, in-game captains were making draft calls. PE's support Sheikah was guiding their choices. NXG's Jiang Ming, on purple side, made his own bans. Varus, Lee Sin, Kennen. Picks came fast. Game 1, top Zac, Jungle Jarvan 4, mid Zed, bot Tristana Persona. Purple, top Rumble, Jungle V, mid Ari, bot Corki plus Fiddlesticks. PE tried a probing composition, but NXG's draft held a nasty surprise. Vi's ultimate and Ari's mobility to lock onto targets, plus Fiddlesticks and Rumble's teamfight engage. Early on, NXG baited PE into giving up first blood. Vi started at blue and stomped up through the jungle in plain sight, tricking PE into thinking she'd gank top. While Rumble bullied Zac in lane, Vi looped back to bottom to set up a skirmish. Fiddlesticks, Terrify stunned Sona and Tristana. Even Tristana's the quickness couldn't prevent Corki from getting the kill. PE fell back into a defensive posture, hoping to stall until Tristana and Zac got items, but NXG's tempo didn't allow breathing room. At 6:42, both NXG mid and jungle hit level 6. A minion wave pressed into bottom. V used her ultimate to lock down the support. Ahri dashed in and charmed. Fiddlesticks terrorized, and NXG exploded PE's bot lane. Jarvan tried to defend the turret, but was focused down and sent back to Fountain. 7 minutes in, it was 4-0 for NXG, and the bottom turret was wounded. What coordination, the casters said. Every tower dive feels effortless for NXG. The composition's real beauty shone at the dragon fight around 9.5 minutes. PE dove for the small dragon and tried to lock onto Ahri, but Ahri's dash and Vi's flank focused Jarvan, while Doom, the NXG member with solid economy, silenced and terrified the enemy backline. The crowd gasped as NXG collapsed the fight, then cleaned up from range. PE's strategy of relying on late-game scaling with Zac, Jarvan, and Tristana had been disrupted. The Ahri plus Vi lock-on left no room for Zed to operate. Even when Zac and Jarvan got bold initiations, Rumble's ultimate split the team, and Ahri Vi punished the backline. By 24 minutes, NXG closed out Game 1. Surprisingly, PE didn't respond by banning Vi in Game 2. They let Ahri Vi through again, prompting a flurry of question marks in the chat. Were they conceding a 3-0 sweep? PE's answer came in picks, a 5th pick counter in mid Morgana. The strategy Terminator herself, Morgana's Black Shield, could nullify Ahri's charm and Vi's combo. Fans leaned in. For once, NXG had a draft that looked vulnerable. The camera lingered on Jiang Ming. People wanted to see panic, confusion, but there was none. Instead, he smiled. He'd wanted this, for other teams to be forced to adapt, to raise the level of play across the league. If he had wanted money or fame solely, he could have stayed behind the scenes. He'd taken on player, coach, and captain duties to change the scene for real. A broken system that starts with congenital problems and ends deformed, born deficient, later deformed, was a phrase he kept in mind. If PE had found a counter to Ahri Vi in Game 2, fine, this was a test for NXG too. Jiang Ming gave a few tactical pointers and stepped off stage. Game 2 began differently. PE stabilized their side lanes and put Morgana in mid to shove Ahri and prevent easy roams. Vi started buying wards and playing safe around minute 4. Ahri's charm was less effective with Morgana's Black Shield in play. For a stretch, NXG's early game pressure was blunted. PE looked like they were imposing their will. Some viewers cried, "Win," in the chat. "Win the championship?" Others scoffed. After all that, the gold lead is just 700. How do you beat NXG with that? Analysts and pro players watching were skeptical. PE had chased kills and towers but couldn't translate it into a decisive lead. NXG defended fantastically. When PE went for objectives, NXG traded elsewhere. When PE tried to split push, NXG matched them with calm wave control and vision. V and support walking together with Janna protection made NXG hard to finish off. Slowly, commentators realized what was happening. How are NXG's towers not falling? They defend so well. The gold lead isn't expanding. Even with Morgana countering the lock-on, NXG still has pick potential. PE's top keeps getting caught, while Songyuan's Rumble forces them to commit a whole army to stop him. When they do, the others take dragons and trade. PE felt it in-game. Morgana shut down Ahri in fights, but NXG avoided full 5v5 engagements just long enough to keep their economy rolling. Side lanes were manipulated, minions cleared, objectives traded. As the game passed 30 minutes, the tides shifted. At 32 minutes, a barren fight broke out. PE's mid-lane pressure had overextended their vision around the pit. V initiated on the ADC, baiting out the shield. Ahri flashed in and charmed Morgana, who was caught out. The rest of NXG collapsed on Morgana and instantly killed her. The teamfight that followed wiped PE, the lead evaporated, and NXG rolled down the mid lane to end the game. Suddenly it was 2-0, a sweeping momentum swing, and the spring finals looked nearly finished. Author's note: I sped up the finals here. I meant to finish writing today, but I was stuck in meetings all day, so the chapter is a bit shorter than planned. I won't go into the specifics. Let's just say some people are scumbags in human skin. If things get resolved tomorrow, I can rest a little. Tomorrow, we'll get into the youth training fame arc and the big transfer storyline. No problem. Chapter 155, First Championship. Backstage at PE, the air felt thick enough to cut. Voices ricocheted off the walls. BP? You never said there was a problem with the draft during Champ Select. You didn't say there was a problem when the game started. You didn't say there was a problem while we were dominating. Oh, we got outplayed and lost, and now you're saying Morgana is too weak in the late game? There is no problem with the draft. How many times do I have to say it? In the mid-game dragon fights, didn't Morgana stop Ari and Vi from getting in? Sheikah's voice climbed to a shout, scolding everyone. Why did we try to force high ground in the mid-game? I said we could wait. NXG's high ground isn't easy to break. 2 of us died in one wave and handed them time to stall. In the Baron fight, 2 lanes of waves were completely messed up and we face-checked a brush. We had no vision in the dragon pit. I couldn't have predicted their ambush. Then how could they predict it? The most basic rule is don't face-check bushes. Zhu Jiawen, you can't be telling me I still have to teach you that in the finals. Damn it. Reaction times are always half a beat too slow. What's the point of knowing what the opponent will do if you can't act on it? Xiao Shou's voice was helpless. All right, let's finish the game first. Sheikah, get your head right. Get my head right? Sheikah snapped. We blew the clearest game we had. Do you think they'll hand us another one? Harsh words and anger bounced around the room. When teams win, they joke, but when they lose, even a group of teenagers seemingly glued to the internet couldn't be expected to sit quietly and analyze calmly. Arguments erupted. They shouted. It was better than going on stage in a brooding silence and refusing to communicate. Jiang Ming had wanted NXG's defeat earlier for exactly this reason. Unresolved issues that fester in practice will explode at the worst possible moment. The second game had been nerve-wracking for over 30 minutes, only to be thrown away by one team fight. Frustration naturally targeted the AD, who face-checked the brush, and Morgana, who died too quickly to use her second ultimate. Still, the 10-minute break gave the players time to vent, to shout and clear their heads, which was preferable to embedding failure in silence. Outside the door, Xu Jing, just coming out of the restroom, stopped. He remembered the first time he and his friends formed a scrim team. The same disadvantages, the same post-game debriefs, the same angry arguments. Back then, his teammates had fought bitterly too, but in the end, Ming Ge calmed everyone. He realized he could barely recall the last time his own team had erupted like this after a loss. They'd been undefeated in the regular season. No matter how down they were, they trusted each other to turn it around. It's great to be part of NXG, he murmured, a smile catching him for a second. After a short breather, both teams returned to the main stage. As the players took their seats, Song Yuan touched his forehead and said, voice complicated, Mingge, to be honest, I still can't quite believe it. Can't believe what? That we're about to win the championship, or that we've come this far? Both. Honestly, I feel the same. Usually flamboyant, chuckled. Half a year ago, I was still this rebellious kid, arguing with my family every day, listening to no one but my sister. If I hadn't turned pro, I'd probably be in some vocational school, riding a souped-up motorcycle, showing off. Xiao Wu and Pang Ran said nothing. Their eyes said the same thing. Among the 5, Xiao Shitou's reason for going pro was slightly different. His grades had been fine, but family troubles forced him to leave home after middle school and make money. Before NXG, he'd been boosting accounts at internet cafes. Jiang Ming watched his team's momentary confusion with gentle eyes. There's nothing to disbelieve, he said quietly. This shock you're feeling now is time's gentlest gift. When you stand at the peak and look back, the ravines you once thought impassable will have joined into a river of stars beneath your feet. What deserves awe isn't the crown at the end, but the steady steps you took to measure the world. In my eyes, you're more remarkable than many so-called prodigies. Talent only counts when it's realized. Sometimes a hard-working genius is still a genius. Be confident, win this championship, and you're the strongest in the LPL. Win worlds, and you're the strongest in the world. Forget doubt, look forward, and keep moving, Never stop. Retreat leads to decay, and cowardice to death. They're 5 people. So are you. Now and forever, they are the challengers. Clang. The pick band start sound dragged everyone back to the present. Watching the players, the young man behind them smiled wider. Their eyes have hardened. When the NXG prototype had first taken shape in that basement, Jiang Ming had felt helpless. 5 ordinary players against prodigious talent felt like a losing proposition. The tactical ideas he'd forged in long, sleepless nights often felt pale next to a talent monster like Li Guopi. But now he had an insight. A perfect lineup is merely a mirror image. Uncut jade needs time to be sculpted. The pressure and cracks are what give bronze the sheen of kingship. He hadn't returned just to relive those sweaty nights or the desperate roars on stage. He had returned to temper 5 ordinary souls into something that could be called legend. This is the first championship for you 5, a milestone for the club. Go, leave no regrets. In Game 3's draft, PE pulled what looked like their trump card and didn't drag out Champ Select. In a do-or-die match, they even banned the typical lock-on combinations. After a quick exchange, both final lineups set. Blue side PE, top Kennen, jungle Rammus, mid Kha'Zix, bot Vayne, and Zyra. Purple side NXG, top Shen, jungle Jarvan 4, mid Gragas, bot Caitlyn, and Thresh. Oh, Rammus, the casters blurted. When PE is desperate, they brought out a champion nobody expected. Is this their horn for a comeback? NXG's lineup feels very conventional. Yes, JM plays safe. When he can rely on skill, he doesn't throw out gimmicks. He meets change with calm. But when a team is down 0-2, coming back is usually a pipe dream unless the teams are evenly matched and the outcome depends on in-game performance. NXG, with 3 match points, didn't play conservatively. JM ordered a level 1 invade. While the PE players stood in tidy formation, at 52 seconds in, the 5 purple players invaded Rammus's red buff. A perfect Thresh hook found PE's jungler. Shen followed up and taunted, and Gragas in mid grabbed first blood. NXG invaded successfully. Norsha's Shen engagement set up first blood for Gragas in mid, the casters shouted. PE paid tuition this wave. Who thought NXG would keep the pressure with a 2-0 lead? JM refuses to give them breathing room. Gragas got a kill in mid, and Kha'Zix's lane life went from bad to worse. The camera cut to PE's jungle, where Jing Qiang forced a small smile, lips twitching as if to comfort himself and the team. NXG didn't stop there. As Zyra tried to help Rammus scout, another hook flew from the shadows. Thresh caught Sika, and NXG Yihan killed PE's jungler. The support then gifted another kill. By finals time, NXG's coaching staff had clearly figured out PE's habits. With ordinary champion choices, they still earned tempo. After 2 early kills, PE seemed to lose their composure. Jarvan 4 hadn't even found his rhythm, and lanes were already trading deaths. At 3:30, Thresh found Zyra with another hook. Sheikah seemed flustered and reacted the wrong way, stepping into Caitlyn and falling to Shujing's headshot. Vayne tried to fight low-health Thresh and failed, nearly getting kited back to the fountain by Caitlyn's relentless autos. The lane duo of PE were low. Jarvan 4 rushed in, not to secure a kill, but to zone Vayne away and deny farm. Observers noted the coordination. NXG traded health in lane, and the jungler arrived like he had a precise GPS. When he landed, he either forced a retreat or got a kill. Vayne had to back to her outer tower and could only step forward when Rammus showed in bot. By the time Rammus left to gank elsewhere, Caitlyn had already bought a BF sword and was pressuring with an item advantage that would haunt PE for a long time. With the enemy jungler exposed, Jarvan 4 sprinted from bottom to top and caught a Kennen out of position. At 4:30, NXG struck again, another kill and a 1,600 gold lead. The commentators' voices sank. Jarvan 4's ganks were everywhere. Rammus's attempts to gank Gragas were easily shrugged off. Kha'Zix trailed in CS by 10. The announcers grimaced. Bottom lane's the worst part. Doran's blade against a Vamp Scepter. Vayne and Zyra barely cleared a wave under tower. If they recall now, they'll lose minions and tower HP, one caster said. If they stay, Caitlyn will keep pressuring. Jarvan 4 finished a top gank and even helped mid. Kha'Zix, slowed by a barrel and hit by an EQ knockup, barely made it to tower. The tempo was crushed. By 7:30, after recalls and item completions and with ultimates ready, NXG secured the first dragon assisted by their duo lane. The lead ballooned to a terrifying 3,400 gold at just 7 minutes. roughly 2 extra long swords per player. Gragas hit level 6, and his ultimate meant anyone who stepped away from vision had to fear being blown to bits. Shujing's Caitlyn, armed with a BF sword, grew arrogant in lane, pushing and autoing Vayne and Zyra. With Thresh's hooks as a threat, any hook meant instant death. Kha'Zix could not outpush Gragas in mid, and PE, who picked Rammus to influence bot, dared not make rash moves. Rammus couldn't touch Caitlyn, Thresh would stop him, and Shen's ultimate in top meant any non-instant kill would turn into a devastating counterattack for the blue team. Slow death, the chat cried out. No lane is ahead. How is jungle supposed to play? Someone asked, and another answered, Ken in top? 10 CS isn't a real advantage. Ignore it. Jarvan 4 arrived top with Shen's support. With Shen's crowd control followed by Cataclysm and an EQ combo, Aluka's Kennen died for a second time. Kennen had a hard time laning against a Shen finishing Sunfire Cape. The difference in jungle pathing reflected JM's philosophy. Many teams treated their jungler as a reactive support, ganking when possible, then serving as a shield for AD or mid in the mid-game, whereas NXG let solo laners share experience with the jungler and ensured their jungler kept a level lead. Level leads matter. 6 is a threshold for ultimate skylines. At 9 minutes, Rammus was still 6 farming his jungle, while Jarvan 4 was already killing Kennen top. PE's comms quieted, faces dimmed to blankness, each player in his own private collapse. Jarvan in top, Thresh and Caitlyn in bot immediately back off. PE has no chance, the casters said. NXG doesn't give you windows to breathe, another added. We saw a dream team born at All-Star. Now NXG looks even more formidable on this final stage. And Gragas in mid has been focused on suppressing Kha'Zix's development the whole time, Shao Kahn said. Gragas moved more than it looked, and the pressure on mid meant Kha'Zix had no health to move while the minion wave sat under tower. Jarvan roamed freely. At 11 minutes, Gragas and Jarvan 4 delivered the mid-jungle synergy everyone had been waiting for. Xiao Wu and Jarvan feigned a bot roam, baiting the classic 4-man dive. While Vayne and Zyra were on the verge of losing it, Gragas and Jarvan struck. All their spells hit Kha'Zix, and they secured the kill in mid. They then rotated back to bot. With Shen top, it was effectively 2 fights the purple team could win. Even with Rammus, PE, on average a level behind, had no room to resist. Retreat, came a hopeless command. Where do we even retreat to? PE players muttered. Once our outer bot falls, they'll start swapping. You don't think we can out-macro NXG, do you? Naomi, Vayne, crumbled under pressure and in a desperate play, activated her ultimate and rolled into enemies. She ran straight into Thresh's predictive hook and died instantly. Pangran, who had earlier placed a true sight ward in the brush behind, stuck out his tongue at the screen and thought, sorry brother, no stealth plays today. As waves of towers fell, score updates piled up. By 21 minutes, the gold difference had reached 12,000. Sheikah's Zyra sat at a staggering level gap, 7-13, one of the largest in the LPL's history. Jungle collapse, loss of tower vision, and Zyra's repeated deaths turned into a vicious cycle. Low level, no wards, more deaths. The Oracle's elixir aura blinked continually over NXG's jungler and support. 400 gold for one elixir gave the team with the lead near permanent vision control. Observers in the NA fist booth grimaced. This item was absurd. Nerf or remove it, they joked in exasperation. With the map dark and Baron control lost to NXG, Caitlyn, with 3 items, took Nashor quickly. PE's Kennen hadn't finished his second item. Azanya's would have helped, but he hadn't completed it. Flanks were impossible. Jarvan 4 and Thresh bought so many sightstones that both jungles were lit. When Baron fell and NXG pushed, PE's hearts snapped. They staged a desperate engage. Rammus charged, Kennen flashed in, Zyra attempted to follow, but NXG ignored it and used Gragas's explosive cask to blow them away. Kennen and Zyra were knocked out of the fight, and Gragas took 2/3 of Zyra's health alone. Caitlyn set traps and sprayed bullets, and a critical from Static Shiv finished Zyra. Kha'Zix threw skill shots, but Shen body blocked them all. The item gap is too big, the casters said. Caitlyn and Vayne's damage levels aren't comparable to what Shen and the tanks have. Shen already has a Randuin's Omen. Vayne is slowed and shredded by reduced crit damage. Shen became a living wall. Randuin's active triggered, and Vayne couldn't move to respond. Songyuan stood his ground and acted as a human shield for his carries, With such an economic lead, NXG didn't need to dive the backline. Zera dead, Kennen down, Rammus too underfed to withstand Caitlyn with Last Whisper. PE's frontline melted. At the mid-lane high ground, Shujing's Caitlyn tore them apart. Pentakill! Pentakill! The system announced as bullets stitched through the canyon and Kha'Zix fell for the last time. Piltover's finest crouches down. Ace in the hole locks on Kha'Zix. He's one step from the fountain. The shot pierced the rift and took the last sliver of health. A female system voice echoed. Caitlyn got a pentakill. Ace! The crowd cried. NXG is about to destroy PE's nexus. We are witnessing the rise of an invincible team. Undefeated, the chat roared. From regular season to playoffs, NXG didn't lose a single game, our LPL's first champions. At 24 minutes, the Nexus exploded in a blaze of starlight. The Taikang Arena couldn't contain itself. Fans stood, waved signs and glow sticks, and shouted until their throats hurt. Zhao Yang watched the NXG supporters around him. They were all smiles, chanting and leaping. Some fans even screamed, "We won! We won!" Overcome with euphoria, the arena became a sea of celebration. On the big screen, footage flicked between the in-game crystal shattering, the elated winners and dejected losers, and finally to Jiang Ming backstage. He clapped, a satisfied smile on his face. The chat exploded with jokes about the substitute mid-laner who'd sat on the bench all season, but now stood with a championship. On the main stage, Song Yuan ripped off his headset, leapt up, and dragged the half-behind Xiao Shito into a tight circle. Champions! 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 We're the champions. Strong Brothers undefeated champions from today on, champion top laners, champion jungler. First LPL championship, first team championship. Do we make history? Get lost, people think it's an Olympic gold. Old Shu, it was just a pentakill. Why are you crying? Pangran teased, punching Su Jing in the arm. What crying? This is sweat. You understand? Song Dazhuang, you're suffocating me. Let's go, team, fist bump. Don't forget the post-game segment. After celebrating, the 5 NXG players straightened and walked toward PE. Since the All-Star event, the LPL had been pushing for post-game courtesy interactions between teams. PE and Royal Club's earlier verbal spat had shelved it temporarily, but NXG now went to their opponents. If any other team had tried this, it might have been read as arrogance, but NXG's win made it palatable. The camera panned to the PE bench. From left to right, Sheikah, Name, Van, Jing, Aluka. Their expressions were painfully similar, staring at the monitor in stunned silence, complexions sapped of color. Any other team coming over might have been scolded, but these were JM's players. After being swept 3-0, Sheikah couldn't muster anger and instead managed only, "Congratulations." They fist-bumped NXG, and then Jiang Ming stepped onto the stage. He moved slowly, patting each player's shoulder in turn. A satisfied smile spread across his young face. 3 perfect games. "Let's go lift the trophy," he said. In the stage center sat a small, plasticky-looking trophy, intertwined replicas of an infinity edge and a black cleaver. It could be held in one hand. Jiang Ming led them forward. One by one, the 5 players raised the LPL Spring Trophy. There was no overblown ceremony. A few golden confetti bursts fell, then the LPL Operations Director and the host came out. 2 staff carried a foam check for 500,000 yuan. The prize board drew eyes immediately. Real money outshone a cheap trophy. "Congratulations," the host said. "Congratulations to NXG, champions of the 2013 LPL Spring Split." The LPL director, Hu Qiming, stepped up, handed over the plaque, then posed for a quick group photo with Jiang Ming and the 5 players before stepping off. The crowd wanted the post-game interviews, not a long award speech. Back on stage, the host smiled and addressed the champions. The 5 players instinctively stepped backward to give their coach the spotlight. "JM, our NXG players have given you the opportunity," the host teased. "As a substitute mid laner, watching your team win 3-0 in the finals and remain undefeated all season, surely you have many thoughts. Would you share them with everyone?" Jiang Ming glanced back at his teammates, gave them a mock glare, and then stepped forward to take the microphone. Chapter 156. NXG will not monopolize this glory. I think the expressions on the faces of the NXG players behind me say enough about how I feel right now. Jiang Ming didn't let the handful of runaway sons escape Han that easily. He lifted the microphone and, with a slight turn of his body, guided the camera toward his players. They were all grinning from ear to ear, laughing like idiots. Just looking at them, you could see the joy shining from within. "This is NXG's first championship since the club was founded," he said. "My players and I are extremely happy about it. What makes me even happier is seeing how the coaching staff and players have grown. When they first joined the LPL, they were inexperienced. Now everyone can stand on their own. Even when we were at a disadvantage, they never gave up, always believing, fighting through, turning the tables with grit and teamwork. Like I said, when NXG hit that 7-game winning streak, we're not satisfied. We'll keep improving. Winning this stage is an achievement, but it's only the beginning." 6. Immature? Damn, you call NXG, who swept 7 teams as soon as they entered the LPL, immature. Heh, I suspect JM's showing off, but I can't prove it. The words are plain, but given NXG's record, this is not normal. JM's a man of his word. He walks the walk. When they beat WE, people accused NXG of marketing and bragging after 7 wins. Wonder how those folks feel now. This flex is smooth. I approve. Esports man of integrity. Compared to finishing the season undefeated, 7 straight wins were just the start. The host moved to the next question. Second question. After Game 2 and before the third game's BP, we saw a long conversation between you and the players. Besides tactical instructions, something in that talk seemed to reset them. How did you get the team into the right mental state? Before Jiang Ming could answer, Song Yuan, standing behind him, put his left hand under his right elbow and raised his free hand like a schoolboy eager to answer. The gesture was comical. "Oh, it looks like our Nor something has a lot to say. JM, do you mind if he replies?" Jiang Ming stared blankly. Song Yuan, who'd been as interview-shy as a cornered tiger a moment ago, suddenly wanted to speak. Was he messing around? Still, the director wouldn't refuse something that might enliven the show. Through the headset, Jiang Ming reminded the stage assistant to hand the mic to Song Yuan. "Before the last game," Song Yuan said, "we asked Ming Gay about what we were feeling. We felt like everything, joining NXG, becoming real pro players, sitting on the LPL finals stage, was some kind of dream. Ming Jae told us." Song Yuan then repeated the line Jiang Ming had used before the third BP. "Forget doubt, look ahead, keep moving forward, never stop." The phrase rolled out over the venue and through the live stream, and Jiang Ming's face went as dark as ink. He gulped. Xiao Shito, standing next to the top laner, tugged at Song Yuan's sleeve. "Brother, don't say any more. You're praising him at the worst possible time." Song Yuan beamed, basking in his own cleverness, oblivious to the blunder. Xu Jing, who read faces well, understood immediately. "The first time that pep talk was inspiring," Xu Jing muttered, "but when someone else repeats it later, it's basically a social assassination. Losing it on the championship stage, well done, Lao Song. It's only one misstep, and if it doesn't land, maybe you'll be teammates again in 18 years, right?" Fortunately, 2013 hadn't yet been shredded into internet memes. To the crowd, Song Yuan's repetition simply turned Jiang Ming into a philosophical master. Words like that are deeply moving, he heard. It wasn't just pep talk, it was true inspiration. As a coach, Song Yuan added in earnest, giving players psychological support is like a shot in the arm. It fires them up and unlocks their potential. The stage assistant, Bao Bao, looked respectfully at Song Yuan and then asked the next question. Third question. NXG has taken the LPL Spring Championship with a perfect record. That's extraordinary, maybe even unprecedented. What are the club's plans for next season in various areas? What are your expectations for the team going forward? Jiang Ming thought through his words and answered seriously. First, this perfect record involved a fair amount of luck. The LPL and League of Legends as a whole are still in an exploratory phase. Many players, and even entire teams, have only scratched the surface of tactics and mechanics, which is part of why this perfect record happened. Next season, I need to help my players recover physically and mentally, keep arrogance and impulsiveness in check, keep training, and forget past achievements. Start fresh. We'll also focus on developing new talent to keep the team energetic and competitive. Finally, I want to repeat what I said before. The Spring Championship is just the beginning. It's not the end. Today, NXG is the strongest team in the LPL region, but tomorrow everything starts anew. From tomorrow on, NXG has a brand new journey to embark on. In the summer, Opponents, both local and international, will only get stronger. If we stagnate, we'll die. Jiang Ming's closing lines stirred the venue. The livestream chat overflowed, while hushed discussions erupted under the stage. How is this luck? I've never had that much luck in solo queue. 20-something wins in a row? Humility, people. Did you hear what JM said? Winning spring only means NXG is strongest today. Tomorrow, it's anyone's game. Is there a hidden jab? Does JM mean the rest of the LPL are weaklings? So the undefeated record is because the region is weak, not because NXG's that good? After Jiang Ming finished, the host turned to the players. Years of professional training had eliminated the fumbling, curse-filled interview style of internet kids. These NXG players might not all become stars, Jiang Ming thought, but he'd taught them a lot. At least he'd made sure they didn't get worse. Their answers were polished and even more shocking. The locked Ahri-Vi combo? Yes, that's a tactic we built for the finals, one said. We didn't reveal many combos. We studied PE's habits, their vision rhythms. Why passive in Game 2? Mingay told us beforehand it could be counterpicked by a 5th pick counter roll, but we practiced for it. You can't put the whole game on BP advantage. Don't praise us for talent. The kids in the youth academy are even crazier. What about training time? If we don't work hard, we'll lose our starting spots. As the 5 answered with deadpan seriousness, listeners realized Jiang Ming's comment about other teams being in an exploratory phase wasn't bragging, it was accurate. While most teams were still learning minion waves, vision, and basic combos, NXG was analyzing micro-habits and rhythm. The news that NXG had gone undefeated lit a fire under esports forums. Undefeated champions, the LPL's own legend. Who can stop this Demon King? How did the NXG owner build this invincible team? Humility or arrogance? JM says regional competition is weak. If you don't train, you'll lose your spot. Is NXG's roster replaceable? NXG Youth Academy, JM expanding his empire. The discussion spiraled. At first, everyone repeated the shock of NXG's perfect championship. Then the conversation shifted to Jiang Ming's post-match comments. Some scoffed at his tone. Others, whose own teams had been crushed by NXG, swallowed their retorts. More people ended up praising Jiang Ming's humility. Behind NXG's terrifying record was strategic dominance, and Jiang Ming didn't gloat. Champion for one day, they agreed. Tougher competition awaits. Investors who had been watching the scene for All-Star buzz paid close attention to the finals' viewership numbers. More than 3 million domestic viewers and 6 million overseas. Investors smelling blood moved in. None of this affected Jiang Ming or the NXG players still at the venue. Trophy in hand, he led them to the front of the stage for a group photo. After getting permission from the venue, he called up some fans who were still there. Waving to the crowd, he shouted, "NXG's championship wouldn't have been possible without your support. If you want to celebrate with us, come on up." The fans, stunned for a beat, then erupted into cheers. A few braver ones ran up first, then a dozen more followed, faces flushed with excitement. The glory of NXG's spring title shouldn't be monopolized. These fans who silently supported them deserved a piece too. Of course, it wasn't a huge crowd, otherwise Jiang Ming wouldn't have risked it. The interaction stayed wholesome. High fives, hugs, and photos. The players remembered the club's rules and kept a respectful distance from female fans, hugging only male fans and posing for pictures. A handful of confident fans draped arms around players' shoulders. One older fellow gripped too hard and made Shujing yelp. "You're not a spy for the enemy, are you? Help, someone's trying to solo kill the AD in real life." "Ha ha!" Shujing put on an exaggerated face of anguish. The scene was warm and lively. The photographer, snapping away, thought, how many people who left early will stay up tonight when this final fan segment hits the players' or club's official Weibo? Who knew JM and NXG had such a gift saved for the end? There's still more coming tomorrow morning. Chapter 157. 5 people only made a pair of normal parents. In May, the online store's sales increased by about 21% compared to the previous month, with team merchandise and peripheral items seeing the highest growth, while snacks and apparel remained stable with no significant changes. However, because of the spring finals, the store's traffic has seen another strong bump in the past few days, and that trend should continue into next month. The offline store has basically been finalized. It's our first franchise, located on the Xianlin campus. The flames of the spring finals had just died down, and Jiang Ming, as the boss, returned to the base with the trophy. As he'd said in his interview, he went back to work the very next day. In the office, he and Lin Jingyi went through the monthly financial review and talked development plans as usual. NXG had won the spring finals with a perfect record, a brilliant achievement that not only brought glory to the team, but also had a huge positive impact on his business empire. The explosive buzz online directly translated into visits across the various online shops under JM Food Moment, and the traffic rivaled that of an all-star event. At the same time, the offline store at Gulu campus was extremely popular among university students. It offered cheap snacks and drinks alongside quality branded products, all marked by the cute yellow potato logo that had become a local landmark. Coupled with Jiang Ming's tireless marketing, the store's popularity kept climbing. Riding that tailwind, JM Food Moment reached a milestone, the official opening of its first franchise. Jiang Ming knew the store's real situation. Strictly speaking, it had to be counted as part of the university's support plan. The owner of the franchise was a student at his own university. He didn't see anything wrong with that. If it was support from the university, it was still support. In the lean early days of entrepreneurship, every coin mattered, and the more support he could get, the better. The business model of JM Food Moment fit perfectly with college students' spending habits, and he had a steady stream of exposure. He believed that once the first franchise proved successful and served as a model, the pace of opening a second and third franchise would accelerate. After all, who would turn down money? With that in mind, Jiang Ming tapped the table and outlined a preliminary plan. The Xianlin store must strictly control quality. Products and prices must match the flagship store. Put up a prominent billboard outside to promote the opening and publish the announcement on the club's official Weibo and in fan groups. His goal was clear: open at least one JM Food Moment store in each of the 4 campus districts around Jinling University before the end of the year. Lin Jingyi nodded. Also, our spring championship prize money is 500,000. With a 60-40 split, the players take 300,000, the club gets 200,000. If you want to pay it out early this month, I'll have someone handle the players' taxes first. Do it as soon as possible. It's best to pay them with their salaries on the 5th. The club adjusted its payroll schedule to 8 a.m. on the 5th of every month. Jiang Ming trusted NXG in his business ventures, so he didn't want payroll mid-month. He had a reason. If employees got paid at the beginning of the month, they'd feel better and likely be more productive. The Penguin platform was also efficient. They guaranteed the prize money would arrive by the 4th. In this promotional phase, they were impressively prompt. Esports holidays aren't like other jobs. During the season, players are fully committed to intense training and competition. Now that the holiday was approaching, it was time for the team to relax. Comparisons matter. While other clubs were delaying salaries, NXG paid on time and handed out prize money quickly. That would speak volumes to current and prospective players about which club was more reliable. While they were sorting out prize money and salaries, Lin Jingyi pulled a folder from her bag. The background checks you asked for on the players' families are all here. She continued. Xiao Shu has always lived with his older sister, who paid for his living expenses through primary and middle school. His parents rarely checked in. They occasionally sent tuition money in earlier years, but later they left for the coast and cut off contact. Given that, I suggest we contact Xiao Shu's sister directly to handle his prize money. How to make the players feel a stronger sense of belonging? Jiang Ming had done something other clubs wouldn't even consider. He'd looked into the family situations of his players. The members of the team were all 15 or 16 years old, still immature in many ways. A monthly salary of 2,000 or 3,000 was manageable, but after tax, each could suddenly receive 40,000 to 50,000 in prize money. Leaving that entirely to them would be risky. They hadn't learned financial responsibility. More importantly, Jiang Ming didn't want the fruits of their hard work to be preyed upon by ill-intentioned vampire-like relatives who sought only to benefit without fulfilling parental duties. He wasn't paranoid. It was a fact of the era. Many internet-addicted teens left school or drifted because they lacked proper guidance. Take Pang Pang, for example. His parents were absorbed in their barbecue business and left him largely unsupervised, setting up a computer and letting him do as he pleased. Compared to some, Pang Ran's parents were still decent, but others were worse. When mid-laner Xiao Wu first arrived, he was quiet and painfully withdrawn, and the reason traced back to his vampire-like parents. They'd abandoned concern for him, forced him to work on the coast during middle school because they claimed studying was useless, and even took half his wages. If the prize money was revealed to them, Xiao Wu's earnings would likely be taken. Xiao Shito didn't need worry. He'd been an orphan since childhood and was the most mature of the group. Handing money to him was low risk. He could handle it responsibly. Top laner Song Yuan, on the other hand, was just rebellious by nature. His parents were rare in their normalcy, understanding and loving. When Song Yuan chose to go pro, they brought Northeastern specialty foods to the team and asked the staff to guide him. When they realized his passion for esports was fixed, they decided to support him. Seeing their son enter a pro team and develop under guidance, they fully backed him. Out of 5 players, only 1 pair of parents were genuinely normal and supportive. The odds felt as bleak as the protagonist's situation at a certain orphanage. How could Jiang Ming be at ease? With prize money arrangements underway, Jiang Ming and Lin Jingyi turned to preparing for that night's team livestream. The topic of NXG's perfect spring finals victory was spreading fast. Passive traffic wouldn't be enough. They needed to capitalize to build the club's reputation, solidify the fan base, and maybe sell a few more boxes of floss cakes. So on the night of their championship, he called Old Shoe at YY Live to finalize details and quickly posted a preview on YY Live and NXG's official Weibo. He also announced streamer recruitment for the new Jingji Culture Guild. Weibo posts rolled out. NXG Electronic Sports Club at YY Live. Dear Summoners, hello everyone. In the recently concluded LPL Spring Grand Finals, NXG, with superb execution, team cohesion, and tenacity, overcame all obstacles and lifted the championship trophy. This glory belongs to every team member and to the fans who have always supported us. To thank you, we've prepared an exciting championship celebration livestream and sincerely invite all summoners to share the joy. Livestream time, June 9th, 7 p.m. sharp. Tune into our livestream channel then. You won't want to miss it. Livestream platform, YY Live, channel 12021. Old Shoe on YY Live followed with a content preview. Livestream content preview, Champion interview. The host will speak in depth with the team, sharing match stories, the players' mental journeys, and their feelings about winning. Hear about tactics, decisions at critical moments, and untold behind-the-scenes stories. 2 interactive segments. 1 during the stream, we'll select lucky viewers to experience NXG members' daily training online. 2 bullet screen lottery. 3 viewer match. 4 Q&A session. 3 mystery match. NXG has prepared a surprising match for the audience. JM will sit at the computer as commentator and give live explanations. Fans, look forward to it. IV special benefits. To thank fans for their support, YY platform will roll out benefits with NXG during the livestream. 1 limited time discounts. The team's official merchandise store will run a discount event on all products, including peripherals. 2 exclusive gifts. In any store, including JM Food Moments offline store, purchase designated items or spend a minimum and receive an exclusive, limited championship commemorative gift, first come, first served. Jiang Ming posted on his personal account too. NXG Electronic Sports Club. Hello everyone. Jingji Culture is officially established today. We're recruiting streamers for the first batch. If you're interested in collaborating, contact the staff account pinned under this post. Compared to the club and YY's detailed previews, JM's announcement was concise, but his Weibo follower count was massive. The esports world, already keyed up about the undefeated NXG and Jiang Ming, instantly heated up again. Comments flooded in. Woohoo, it's here, the live stream. I've waited a whole month for anything about the LPL playoffs. How did I spend this month waiting? NXG, you're so annoying. You don't stream every day like you could. Boss and players both slack off. YY, check NXG's contract. If there are any breaches, sue them so they can't rest this holiday. They must stream from morning till night. If they don't stream, I won't buy from their shop anymore. Return all the floss cakes and fish tofu. Protest. Let's not watch the live stream today to show our dissatisfaction. Wait, we can watch their training live and even chat with them. Plus, there's a mystery match with JM commentating. How rare is that? I don't have to work overtime today, so watching the live stream to relax sounds great. Jingji Culture recruiting streamers? Is JM starting a gaming guild? You posted that casually, too laid back. What's wrong with being laid back? I'm a big star, JM. Chill. While netizens argued online, back at the NXG youth training base, all youth members were summoned to the conference room. With the roster down by another third, Mosai announced the news they'd been waiting for. Get ready. The tryouts for NXGB and NXGW, the club's second teams, will be held on the 7th of this month. Hey, here it comes. Here it comes. The headlines outside were getting wilder by the minute. People seemed to be better at catchy titles than the publicity team. Under all that buzz, NXG's championship debut livestream, carefully scheduled so it wouldn't clash with high school exams, kept climbing in popularity. With the title of Spring Champions on their banner, NXG no longer had to worry about appearing popular without merit. A championship meant people had to take notice. For now, at least, no one argued with the crown. At the NXG clubhouse, the 5 players were getting ready for the stream. Xu Jing will lead the basic training walkthrough. Pang Ran takes vision drills. Team leader Chen Muxin said, guest hosting the event. Club pay was doubled for tonight. Xiao Wu, push the intensity a bit. Have him and Song Yuan work on movement and skills together. What about me? Shi Zhenyu asked, anxious that he hadn't been assigned anything. Chen Muxin looked him over and set her hands on her hips. As for you, Mingge specifically wants you to give the viewers a lesson. A lesson? Yeah, anything. Vision, wave management, resource planning, whatever you can teach the audience, and figure out the product placement yourself. On the YY platform, the tech team had already put a celebratory NXG Spring Finals banner on the homepage that morning. The channel had been listed for hours, and although the main stream didn't start until 7, the viewer count had already rocketed into the hundreds of thousands. Word of NXG's perfect championship record had spread beyond the LPL fan base. Other teams and even players from other regions were curious. The All-Star promotion was still ongoing, and a few determined viewers had found ways around restrictions to boost the numbers further. Channel 120021 looked busy even before the picture came up. The room was black, but viewers had gathered early, spamming the chat. When does this actually start? Is that guy upstairs a StarCraft player who quit for Lowell? How'd you know? It's on the homepage, 7 p.m. This is going to be a long wait. Can't the stream start early? Even just showing the players' daily lives would be fine. I'm dying to see what it feels like to be a pro. I'm just curious about this mystery match they mentioned. Some people predict the first team versus the second team. That'd be juicy. With JM commentating, I'll finally understand the game. The clock slid to 7, and the chat exploded. The channel name had quietly changed to NXG Team Takes You Inside the Life of an Esports Player. P.S. This is definitely not a cure internet addiction event, okay? The stream came up. It followed NXG's usual format, Jiang Ming and team leader Chen Muxin on the main feed, plus several substreams for the players. One sharp-eyed viewer, though, noticed that a substream's room layout didn't match the NXG training area. Hello, summoners. Good evening, Chen Muxin said into the main camera. This is NXG's stream. I'm Chen Muxin, team leader and tonight's host. She gave a neat opening. Sitting next to me is the club director and our head coach and mid laner. The chat finished her sentence for her. JM. Whoa, who's that? Why is he looking so sharp tonight? Legendary skin, commentator JM. Team leader moonlights as host now? NXG is really pushing multitasking. Coach, hurry up. We want to go pro. Jiangming smiled at the camera. Good evening, everyone. A year of streaming had taught him how to read the comments. He didn't rush. Don't panic. Before we serve anything, I should tell you what I've prepared for tonight. Chen Muxin leaned into her hosting role. Our stream has 1 main room and 6 sub-rooms, 5 players plus the youth training base. First up, our champion interview segment. But you ask the questions. The players will answer. Your questions represent what you want to know more than anything we could script. and for selected questions, we'll send small gifts from the club. The chat loved that. Lin Jingyi, coordinating with the YY platform off camera, watched the back-end numbers jump. Less than 10 minutes after start time, the metrics had exploded. Viewers 110,000, new returning ratio 1.73, comments 172,222, likes 222,222, gifts and revenue climbing. Lin Jingyi messaged the platform, report new data immediately. If numbers fluctuate, we'll adjust the schedule. Xu Tao replied, no problem. Chen Muxin moved on. To avoid accusations of rigging, she would announce a countdown, screenshot the chat, and pick the 7th comment. 7's our lucky number, she said. 5, 4, 3. 1,000 comments flooded in. When the countdown hit 0, Chen Muxin screenshotted the wall of messages and pasted it into a text file. She scrolled to the 7th entry and read it aloud. I'm very curious. During the spring finals, did anyone do any weird superstitious prep? Wear certain socks, red underwear, eat or avoid certain foods, thinking it would help the win. The stream burst out laughing. No way, red underwear? That's already explosive for the first question. Confirmed, this isn't scripted. In the substreams, the players exchanged confused looks. Pang Ran scratched his head. Weird prep? No, I just wore my usual stuff. Xiao Wu said, Coach Ming wouldn't let us eat beef before the finals. Does that count? The chat perked up. Wait, no beef? Why not beef? Any taboo is juicy. Song Yuan, remembering the old team dinner, explained. When we formed NXG, we had a celebration hot pot. 3 of the 5 of us had stomach trouble for 3 days afterward, so the club banned beef after that. Xu Jing, flamboyant as ever, confessed quietly, when I'm stressed, I call my sister. Chat lost it. Call his sister? Xu Jing, a sister's boy? Never saw that coming. First time I've seen a sister's boy in pro gaming. It's fine. Sibling love is natural. I have a Blu-ray of Yosuga no Sora to discuss with you. Emotes everywhere. Shi Zhenyu, the jungler, pulled off his jacket to show a red shirt. He pointed to tiny lettering and said, I have a victory ritual. I wear this red ranked must-win shirt before matches. It boosts my win rate. Where can we buy that? A chat user asked. Great timing, Shi Zhenyu grinned. The NXG merch store launched a 5-player set today. The jungler tee is restocked. Order all 4 other positions and complete your NXG matching set. Championship sale, 10 yuan off every 300 spent, plus stacked red packets. Click the link, claim your coupon in the bottom right, save an extra 5 yuan. Limited stock. Ad break out of nowhere. Didn't ask. This placement was purer comedy than my quickness hitting the wall. Shi Zhenyu, NXG's top salesperson. I'll buy it. Last time I bought 20 boxes of floss bread, now a full set. The first question had boosted engagement. Viewers, comments, and even gifts rose. Chen Muxin rode the momentum and pulled the next question. This one's from 7 Sins, she read. After winning the championship, has anyone thought of doing something strange with their prize money, like buying a room full of snacks or getting a full skin account? Or how does each of you plan to use the prize money? Song Yuan immediately went on the theatrical offensive. Family, help me. NXG fans, judge this. Why can everyone spend their prize money freely, but I said something in an interview and the heartless Jiang Ming wants to put all my winnings into my mom's bank card? He went into mock tears. Now I have to ask permission to buy spicy strips. Yesterday I applied to buy a skin and it got rejected. Apparently that's the start of a pro's downfall. He held up his phone to show off a message. Is this reasonable? Is it reasonable? Chat split. That's harsh. Seems the club's being overbearing. Don't the players have contracts that let them manage their own money? Maybe there's a reason. Don't assume. Just as Jiang Ming was about to explain, the other players started answering seriously. You know my family. My mom's barbecue chain earns more in a day than my prize money. Xu Jing, with a pick in his nose and laughing, Mingge called my sister and offered to hand it to her too. She said no, told me to save it for the wedding. My situation's complicated. The club's helping me change my legal guardian. I'm an orphan. I don't have parents. Song Yuan, mid-performance, froze. The joke stuck in his throat. The other 2 had answered bluntly, and the tone shifted in an instant. What had been a giddy, mostly teasing chat slowed. People reread the answers. Guardian change? Orphan? The laughter died down. A viewer typed quietly, oh, they're all minors. That's different. Many viewers suddenly realized that all 5 NXG players were under 18. Handling a large cash prize wasn't a simple matter of impulse purchases or silly pranks. Legal guardianship and proper custody of funds had to be considered. The whole thing looked very different now that the players' ages and family situations were public. After the silence, understanding and sympathy started to spread through the chat. For all the earlier teasing, people began to see why Jiang Ming might have decided to route prize money through parents or guardians. There was still 5,000 due to arrive the next morning. The live stream room erupted as viewers, wielding the internet's digging power, unearthed the family backgrounds of several players. Jiang Ming's prior handling of prize money distribution, once criticized as overbearing, suddenly looked like careful consideration. It turned out NXG Club had been genuinely protecting their underage players all along. Now that I think about it, no matter what Xiao Shito says, he can smoothly switch to selling stuff. Is that a survival skill he learned? Bro, you trying to roast me? From this angle, NXG really deserves to be called the top club in the LPL. They actually worry about their players. Xiao Shito and Xiao Wu watched the scrolling comments with calm faces, small smiles lingering. They chatted with viewers about their situations like it was no big deal. Half a year ago, when they just joined the team, that kind of attention might have broken them. Now it didn't. Under Jiang Ming's guidance, they transformed from shut-in little monsters into young men who could fly in the sunlight and trust that there was light to believe in. He hadn't only taught them game skills, he'd reshaped their inner worlds. From isolation to team participation, the club systematically taught life skills, social etiquette, and how to face the world. Psychology professors from his alma mater opened a new perspective for kids once labeled problem children and internet-addicted youths. Where arrogance had once flashed, there was now composure. Where confusion and stubbornness had been, there were easy smiles. The applause and flowers on stage only made their quiet confidence show through. This kind of foresight is so obvious. JM's great. All right, that's enough. Why bring all this up during a championship celebration? Some people just want to feast on others' misfortune. As the comments shifted, Jiang Ming exchanged a subtle look with Chen Muxin. He hadn't investigated players' backgrounds for a publicity angle. His goal had been to help them grow. Some money could be made. Some money shouldn't be. If you only ever chased profits, you might succeed briefly, but you'd pay for it eventually. He knew the esports world's currents too well. Chen Muxin cleared her throat and moved things along. Okay, next question. A question from netizen referee Blitzcrank Dragonfly Captain. The Q&A kept easing into everyday anecdotes about the team. Who's the stingiest on the team? Always calculating every cent on takeout. NXG members don't order takeout during work hours. The cafeteria food is fine. Who's the biggest narcissist? Always thinking their plays are awesome and dragging others to rewatch highlights. Song Yuan, looking at the ID. That one's obvious. Whose in-game ID makes you want to complain? That'd be Xiao Wu's. Mingjae always brings him along to matches. Leaving Yihan back at base feels wrong. The championship interview lasted about half an hour. Even with thousands of viewers firing questions, Jiang Ming knew a live stream needed variety to keep different kinds of fans engaged. Wow, I didn't expect so much interest in our players' daily lives, but we can't forget the more technical friends out there. Next is the second segment. We prepared this especially for fans who want tactical detail and dream of going pro. The second segment is called NXG Dream Training Ground. Chen Muxin switched into professional mode. A dynamic scoreboard appeared on screen as she introduced the segment's rules. All tryout players, attention! NXG Club's live stream tryouts use a 100-point system. Basic score is 40%, fundamental skills assessment 20%, champion pool depth 10%, psychological quality 15%, and learning adaptability 15%. This wouldn't fully replicate the club's offline tryouts. It was a simplified system Jiang Ming designed for the stream. But plenty of pro players and managers lurking in the chat were already taking notes. If it worked well, clubs would copy it. The first batch of viewers chosen for the experience flashed on screen. We'll do rotating batches, 15 players in total, 3 drawn each round to form a temporary team. When the first player enters the match interface, the other two go to pre-match prep. This keeps wait times short. One of the chosen viewers used the ID Yushuo Hai Shu. He was a typical League player, stuck at Gold 2, who loved watching pro games and would explain tactics like a match commentator, always teased by friends as a theory-only player. He wanted to prove himself. Against tens of thousands of viewers, the Gold 2 player was randomly picked for the NXG tryout. Cough, I'm sorry to inform players, because your rank doesn't meet our standard, 40 points will be deducted from your basic score to start, Chen Muxin announced. Now I'll assign each of you to 5 different rooms with tryout content. Lol, getting 40 points taken off right at the start, brutal. That leaves 60, won't even pass the tryout, right? Wake-up call. There's a difference between watching and doing. Yushuai Shu's first stop was fundamental skills with Xu Jing. In the substream, Xu Jing's showy smile twisted into something sharper. Heh, rules are simple. The fundamental skills test has 3 parts. First, 10 minutes of last hitting with specific champions and no items. Second, last hitting with interference. Third, harder interference from intermediate bots. That didn't sound impossible. The benchmark was 65 minions in 10 minutes. They're underestimating me, Yushuo Hai Shu thought. Since watching JM's tutorials and learning the importance of minion gold, he'd practiced last hitting. He could usually get around 70 in 10 minutes, even with some interference. Viewers spread into the substreams. The champions selected for basic skill tests were Soraka, Anivia, and Doom. These are some of the champions with the most awkward projectile mechanics, Jiang Ming explained. Fundamental skills test a player's mastery of basic mechanics, auto attacks, and skill timing. Auto attacks, affected mainly by travel speed and attack speed, are the purest test. 1. Anivia's animation makes me sick every time I play her. Soraka's heal looks so soft, like it does nothing. Last hitting with these 3 and no items? Unthinkable. Yushuai Shu focused. When he saw a low-health minion, he targeted it and right-clicked. Soraka's slow-moving projectile finally landed, but no last-hit sound, no gold. He'd missed it. He'd miscalculated Soraka's attack timing. His ears burned. He glanced at the stream chat and saw his friends taunting him, then snapped to the next minion. But the rules, no items, no abilities, meant he couldn't adjust attack speed. 3 melee minions hit execute range at once. The blue team's ranged minions fired perfectly to secure the kills. Old Shu missed 3 last hits right away. You were always bragging about fundamentals. What happened? One wave only has 3 melees. If you miss them all, even I could do it. The cruelty of fundamental training is this. Even players with some practice still fall far short of pro-level precision. Add constraints like no items, disabled abilities, and tens of thousands of viewers watching, and small errors snowball into psychological breakdowns. In regular ranked play, you might rage, but under the glare of an entire live stream, it's another story. Yushuo Hai Shu failed. He wanted to prove himself and lost his tempo. His 10-minute last hit count sat embarrassingly at 52. Other participants in the same room also fell apart. Even the best among them, someone at Diamond 4, only barely made it through the first 2 parts. The third part, with intermediate bot interference, shattered his confidence. Is the bot you set fist broken? A voice screamed in the chat. Just let me last hit. Why are you chasing and hitting me? Are you using Terrify on my cannon? Can that bot even use its ultimate? Screams echoed in the stream. The Diamond 4 player's smile flattened under an onslaught of doom and bot aggression. Challenge failed. The fundamental skills room ended in a wipe. Other lanes looked just as bad. Xiao Wu and Pang Ran's online classes were no picnic either. Song Yuan led a bunch of self-proclaimed top-tier players through a kiting special training for top lane. On screen, the health bars told the tale. One champion full like a reservoir, the other limping along. Kite, how many times do I have to tell you? Your movement looks like you're strolling. Just that? My grandma could dodge abilities better than you. Understand proactive trades. How do you expect to solo kill without proper trades? How do you call jungler for a dive? Song Yuan clicked and jabbered non-stop, pressuring the other player relentlessly. The identities of the experienced players weren't all shown, but the laughter in the main chat said everything. This stream was doing exactly what it promised. The NXG tryout experience had become, for the internet, a large-scale internet addiction rehab class. Next chapter preview, black and white teams appear. Jiang Ming probably never imagined that what was supposed to be a bit of filler, a handful of tryout sessions to kill time, would turn into the evening's first big highlight and shoot their channel to the very top of the trending list. There was Xu Jing drilling basic mechanics, Song Yuan demonstrating Oriana-style kiting with a cane, Pang Pang and Xiao Wu running a joint online esports class, and even Xiao Shito doing some on-camera merchandising while personally helping a group of would-be junglers detox from solo queue by throwing them into jungle skirmishes. The unlucky participants wailed as they were stomped flat inside 3 minutes, their professional dreams turned to dust. The livestream audience laughed until they were practically slapping their desks, tears almost dropping from their keyboards into their rigs. Crucially, the raw, humiliating reality of it didn't scare viewers away. If anything, it made them want to try even more. Players were both terrified and eager. The phrase, scrambling to be first, took on a life of its own. At 9 o'clock, after the 5th batch of tryout participants had been packed off, the 6th small stream room on channel 12021 finally filled. Before anyone could type a single question mark, Jiang Ming, his prediction meter already maxed, gave a nod to Chen Muxin and spoke into the mic. All right, let's give a round of applause to the brave players who stayed with us to the end. We hope to see them climb through the ranks. Chen Muxin smiled mysteriously. Some of you might have noticed that the 6th stream room we'd left empty all night now has an owner. Hello everyone, I'm Mose, manager of the NXG youth training team. A stout man who didn't look anything like a desk-bound manager appeared on screen, waving. Tonight, the final surprise event in our NXG championship celebration will be handled by me. The audience had guessed right. The mystery event was Jiang Ming commentating a match of NXG's second squads. But it wasn't the first team facing the reserves. It was a match between 2 second teams. Jiang Ming, quietly moving up to the microphone, straightened and slipped perfectly into commentator mode. Welcome to the decisive assessment match of NXG's Youth Training Phase 1. Let me introduce the 2 teams. In the blue corner, NXG White. In the red corner, NXG Black. All 10 players on both rosters were selected from the recruits who joined the NXG Youth Training Camp since April. Jiang Ming read the names with the practiced cadence of a pro. NXG.B members are Top, Long, Jungler Seeker, Mid U, ADC Luster, Support Duan, and NXGW, Top, Nexus, Jungler MLXG, Mid Theking, ADC Vasily, Support Moon. As Jiang Ming named the NXG White lineup, Mosier in the side stream turned a small camera to the training room's player seats where the 2 teams sat facing each other. The trainees stood and introduced themselves in order. Hello everyone, I'm Nexus, NXG White's top. My real name is Jiang Hong, current rank Ionia Challenger, 400 LP. The introductions moved from right to left. The chat, which had been reeling from Jiang Ming's earlier antics, finally woke up and exploded. What the heck, 2 NXG second teams. JM, you pulled 2 more teams out of nowhere? What are you doing, JM? 1 NXG is not enough? You trying to own the whole LPL? Did he just say Ionia Challenger? Nexus? That Nexus? This physique, dude should be playing basketball, not esports. But the bigger shock came as the rest of the lineups finished. MLXG stepped up. I'm MLXG, jungler for NXG White. Real name Liu Xiu, current rank Diamond 1. I'm Zhao Hao, mid for NXG White, Ionia Challenger, 543 LP. Vasily, Li Weijin, Ionia Challenger. Support Moon hesitated, then gave his name. Black team followed. I'm Long, top for NXG Black, Zhu Xiaolong, Ionia Challenger, 397 LP. Seeker, jungler Hanjun, Ionia Challenger. Yu mid. Luster, ADC Qinhuan, Ionia Challenger, 523 LP. Support Duan. Silence fell across the stream for a few seconds, the kind of stunned quiet that comes before a volcanic roar. Then the comment feed detonated. This is a second team? Several LPL starters are Diamond 2, right? 10 players, 9 challengers, and 1 only because of limited slots. JM, what are you doing? Between the 5 starters and these, a quarter of Ionia challengers are under you. My mom asked why I'm watching this on my knees. Is this the imperial backbone of an esports dynasty? Challengers are everywhere. Diamonds look like gatekeepers here. Why is white wearing black and black wearing white? Knowing white, guarding black. The Esports world's reaction went beyond the stream chat. Scouts and managers tuning in from veteran clubs like WE, OMG, and IG stared at their screens with wide eyes and shallow breathing. When they recovered, their panic was almost giddy. High-quality prospects they couldn't recruit on the market were suddenly sitting in NXG's youth camp? No wonder Ionia Challenger's leaderboard had been flipping so often. Jiang Ming had been stirring up trouble. A message flashed in the chat from an account labeled Wang Gongzi, the ID of IG's boss, who'd apparently been watching. Jiang Ming, you little brat. Last month you told me all those youth trainees were rotten apples unfit for the stage, and now you're offering me kings and queens? His voice lit up the room. Jiang Ming's smile went a little awkward. He cleared his throat. Cough, cough. Don't worry, don't worry. I've already prepared the kinds of talents you asked about. I was just busy with the spring finals and forgot to mention. Tomorrow, you can send someone to the NXG youth training base to take a look. We're a small club. We can't keep all this talent. If teams need players, contact manager Mo to submit transfer applications. Ding, ding, ding. Mosier's phone buzzed before Jiang Ming finished the sentence. Messages piled in from LPL managers and from ambitious clubs one step below the LPL, all asking about the remaining trainees. None of them were fools. What NXG considered leftovers, after picking the second teams, could be the breakthrough the other clubs needed. Put aside tactical literacy, NXG's training provided. Simply by surviving Jiang Ming's brutal screening, many of these players had already completed their transformation into professionals. Why gamble on random solo queue stars when you could buy well-trained youth prospects who'd been through a rigorous system and at a reasonable price? What had been meant to be a slow, careful promotion of youth trainees suddenly became an auction in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers. Jiang Ming's grin widened at the sight of the incoming interest. He could almost hear coins falling. Once he dealt with the calls and messages, Jiang Ming focused the broadcast back on the black versus white match. The stream's aim was twofold: consolidate the fan base and showcase NXG's youth players so clubs would put in transfer offers. Challenger ranks and the first team's dominance were strong selling points, but nothing sells like seeing talent perform live. If prospective buyers needed proof of the training program's results, this match would be the track test for NXG's high-end custom cars. A viewer asked why the teams were split into black and white. Jiang Ming answered plainly while waiting for the BP room to be set up. The split is mainly based on playstyle. Black and white emphasized different tactical philosophies. Once they were in OB mode and no picks had been locked in, Jiang Ming moved into pre-game analysis. In the current patch, physical assassins in the mid lane have been nerfed somewhat, but high damage, high mobility AP assassins, Gragas, Ari, LeBlanc, are still strong. The presence of Deathfire Grasp as a burst item also means mid laners can still one-shot carries in the right circumstances, so the patch still centers around mid-lane assassin play. Which champions are getting nerfed next? Don't forget the items, nerf Deathfire Grasp. The game company should patch based on JM's stream. As expected, the Esports Confucius nailed it. As an AD, I get melted by AP assassins. Jiang Ming stayed on point. So as a pro team, when the ADC's survival is shaky in this patch, you need to change your resource allocation. Top, mid, and jungle become even more important. For casual players who want to climb, top, pick simple, reliable champions like Shyvana or Renekton. Kennen, Rumble, Jace are powerful but require high mechanical proficiency. For jungle, Olaf, Elise, Lee Sin are solid. If you're not confident mechanically, pick Jarvan 4. Even if you miss combos, his ultimate still helps the team. For ADCs, Caitlyn, though shook a bit, is still fine. Ezreal and Corki offer poke and escape. Graves is great in duo queue because of his short range and dueling power. A lot depends on your support choices. Pick Janna, Nami, or Lulu if you want safety and peel. Chat flooded with reactions. Stream, slow down. Too much info. Where's the beginner support list? He already said Janna, Nami, Lulu. The lobby's set, Jiang Ming announced. White is on the blue side, black on the purple. Black controls 5th pick for counterpicking. Today marks the official formation of NXG.B and NXG.W. These players have scrimmaged together a lot in the youth camp, so they know each other well. The ban pick phase will reflect the tactics each side intends to use. The blue side's first ban is Orianna. Mo Z switched the side camera between the two banks of players. Jiang Ming explained, NXG Black prefers macro play and team fights. Their mid laner, Yu, farms exceptionally well and is very consistent. A first ban on Orianna suggests NXG White wants to suppress Black's late-game team-fighting potential. In a rented room on Jinling's outskirts, Miller and Wawa sat squeezed on two plastic stools in front of a single monitor. Invited as guests and required by the league to brush up on pro knowledge after the All-Star, both had notebooks open and were scribbling furiously as they watched Jiang Ming's pre-game breakdown.